Okay, we are going to call this regular meeting of the Martin County School Board to order. If you would all please rise for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I will call the roll. Ms. Roberts?
Aye, aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Here?
Ms. Steffenthaler?
Present.
And let the record reflect, Mr. DiTerlizzi is not here, but he will be here. He had an emergency, so we are going to kind of move things around a little bit on the agenda. So I will need a motion to approve the agenda with items 7.07, 17.03, 17.04, 19.05, 19.06, 19.07, 19.08 added. Following items updated, 7.01, 7.04, 15.02, 19.01, and 10.01 pulled from consent and moved to action. And we will be moving items 2.01, 3.01, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 4.01, 2, and 3 until after Mr. DiTerlizzi arrives. And then also I'd like to move item 15.01 and 02 to after public comment, just because they have, those require some public input. So we'll ask for comments after that, but many people don't come to the meeting until after 5. So we'll move those presentations until after 5.
So move with the following changes there.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Anderson, a second by Ms. Roberts. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve items 6 through 10, not including 10.01.
What about 11?
Oh, what was the other one? 11?
11 and 12.
Oh, 11, and, I'm
I
sorry,
just-
yes.
yes.
I missed those, yes.
So the entire
So,
consent agenda.
Consent agenda, items 6 through 12, not including item 10.01.
Okay. All right, I have a motion by Ms. Roberts. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Steffenthaler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, first up, we have board member discussion. So I listed on here intergovernmental representation, and one of the things that I really think that we're going to need to look at moving forward, especially in the climate that we have right now, is to hire someone who represents us in Tallahassee at meetings, at behind the scenes, whatever, in the form probably of a lobbyist. There's just so much going on. I just happened to be in Tallahassee when some comments were made at the Senate Education Committee, and there was no one there. We need someone that can be there on the ground to answer. So I briefly talked to the superintendent about it, but this person can also help kind of keep their eyes on FEFP, anything that's going to impact specifically Martin County. We're part of different organizations, but as you all know, they are really centric in certain counties. They don't truly represent us in Martin County. And also, I think we have an opportunity to start to capitalize on some of the funds that are out there that are being awarded to school districts and organizations for special projects, initiatives that we want as a board to advance. So that was just something. I know that the superintendent has certain authority, but I thought it was appropriate, if there's consensus, that we try to get somebody at least on board by the legislative session, so we'll have those eyes and ears in Tallahassee for the session, because I think we're gonna need it this session. The superintendent does have some authority. I don't know what that will look like, but eventually I think we should go through the procurement process and get someone, permanently on board. But something temporary at least to help us out through this session.
And that was kind of the role Vern played, right? Or not really?
Yeah, it was. Vern was still, we had a lot more when Vern was here, because now the person who leads our group is specifically works for
Right,
St.
that's
Lucie
what-
County, so it's not really beneficial to us.
Right. I felt a little lost with all of that because of that, he being gone and the fact that I know that the concentration is St. Lucie, so I'm in favor of that.
So is it okay if we had the conversation with the superintendent? You all can put in your opinion with him, Ms. Roberts?
Sure, so, one thing I'd like to point out is, I don't think it needs to be somebody local.
Oh, no, absolutely.
I mean, I think we're much better served by somebody who's up there, and even if it's a firm or one of those other, places that can do it for us, and you're speaking specifically, even though this is titled Intergovernment Representation, you're speaking specifically for the legislative session in Tallahassee. You're not talking about
Yeah,
stuff down here.
Really just governmental representation, just in the, it
During
could
the
be
session.
local, but during session. They will, eventually, I think we would want someone to work for us year-round that has those relationships, because I think it can be really beneficial to us, so.
Right, but I just mean it's for Tallahassee business.
Tallahassee.
It's not for down here getting involved in whatever the local, whether it's Costco, whether it's any of those other.
Correct,
pieces. I
correct.
just
Yes,
wanted to
it will be
clear
Tallahassee
that it's
government.
that piece.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
okay.
Thanks.
So I'll get with the superintendent, and we can talk a little bit more. And
Right.
Okay, next I had, the letter to the National Register of Historic Places. We were asked to weigh in, on the, hopefully, the Martin County Historic Preservation Board has asked that the Salerno Schoolhouse be designated to the National Register of Historic Places. So there is a letter, hold on, that has been prepared. It's some work. Hold on. Please accept this letter as documentation of the Martin County School Board's enthusiastic support for the potential inclusion of the Salerno Schoolhouse on the National Register of Historic Places. Also known as the Salerno Colored School, the site is a tremendous historical and cultural significance for our local community. The Martin County Black Heritage Initiatives organization has worked to document the schoolhouse's history, poring over school board meeting minutes from the 20s and 30s and gathering oral records from former students, teachers, and descendants. As a Rosenwald school, the site offers a meaningful glimpse into our nation's past and the educational opportunities provided to African American children in the early 20th century. It is our hope that the National Review Board will strongly consider the schoolhouse for inclusion on the National Register of Historic Places. So just really getting consensus that it's okay to submit that letter on behalf of the school board.
Sure.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
All right. Let me get back to my agenda.
When that letter is done, Madam Chair, can you have it attached to the agenda under that 1302?
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, we have recognitions. The Florida Green District, United States Department of Education awarded Florida Green Ribbon Districts.
Good morning, Chair Powers, board members, and Superintendent Millay. The Florida Green School Network acts as a central clearinghouse for the green school movement in the state of Florida and supports Florida Statute 1000.08. It was designed to recognize and support green school initiatives at the school and school district level and to aid them in adopting practices that will conserve natural resources, promote sustainability, and reduce operating costs. For the year 2021, the Florida's Green School Network recognized the school district of Martin County as one of 7 school districts for their outstanding achievements. The MCSD is the recipient of the silver level Florida Green School District Award. The Florida Department of Education works closely with school districts, sister agencies, and partners to create empowering opportunities both inside and outside the classroom for students and staff to grow into environmental champions and gain the skills they need to flourish as future leaders. Train Technologies is a valued partner of the Green School District program. Mr. Steve Corson from Train Technologies is here to share a few words regarding the partnership and the great things that we are doing here at MCSD.
Thank you. For the record, Steve Corson with Train Technologies. Madam Chairman, board members, and Superintendent Millay, it's our pleasure to be here to recognize Martin County Schools for your leadership in energy, environmental, education, and wellness. Those are the three pillars that the Florida Green Schools Network selects based on for excellence in the Green School District Award. This is the second year in a row that Martin County Schools has been awarded the silver level. There are only 7 districts out of the 67 that are awarded at this level, and it shows your leadership in and out of the classroom. At Train, we're honored to be a business partner with the school district. We've been a longtime sponsor of the Education Foundation, and our support of the Florida Green Schools Network and sponsorship with the Florida Department of Education is one of the ways that we're able to contribute to changing the world for the better. Education is our most important asset, and at Train, our goal and our mission is to reduce the energy intensity of the planet. We thank you for your leadership. We thank you for stewarding the next generation, for being responsible and by lowering your own energy and cost impact, by providing wellness and a healthy environment, which you truly are leading, and by educating the next generation for environmental stewardship and sustainability. Thanks again and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Does this initiative relate at all to like Pine Jog's Green School Awards that, I mean, some of it is the same, the wellness, the,
Correct. Similar concepts. The Pine Jog Award is based on the LEED design criteria, and it's more focused on the aspects of that facility and operation. This award is for overall district leadership in energy, environment, and wellness.
oh, I was talking about, there's a green school program that Pine Jog runs, that
Right.
Palm Beach County and Martin County participate in, where different schools participate with different benchmarks for instance, transportation, wellness, environmental, curriculum, you know, those type of things, but.
Correct. It's a different group.
Thank you.
Good question. Sure, absolutely.
Sure.
You want us to come down there, or?
We'll come down.
One, two, three. And I'm going to take one more with another phone, so give me just a minute. All right. One, two, three. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, moving right along, we have our student representative, Kyle Ramos.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Dr. Millay, board members, and members of the community. I'm delighted to share with you some news about our 3 local high schools. To start off with Jensen Beach High School, The Jensen Beach boys cross country team qualified for the state championship. The Jensen Beach Drama Department will be presenting their fall production Pride and Prejudice by Kate Hamill on November 17th to the 20th. Please contact the Drama Department for more information. Congratulations to the Jensen Beach High School debate team, who recently came in third place in duo interpretation. The Jensen Beach Key Club raised $343.41 for their Trick or Treat for UNICEF fundraiser in October. The money will be going to help provide clean drinking water for Haiti. Jensen Beach High School clubs and athletic teams recently donated 130 Thanksgiving food baskets to Elevate Hope. They are proud to partner with Elevate Hope for the project this year. Congratulations to the following athletes who signed on Wednesday, November 10th, to continue their athletic and academic careers in college. Meg Shoppy, Florida Southern, for lacrosse. Blair Stoneberg, Wisconsin, for swimming. Catherine Rader, Duke, for soccer. Shanna McNair, Lane College, for softball. Shauna McNair, Lane College, for softball. Isabella Faherty, Jacksonville University, for soccer. Patrick Ward, Florida Atlantic University, for baseball. Pat Gillen, Calvin University, for baseball. And lastly, Rocco Smith, Chowan University, for lacrosse. The Jensen Beach High School Marching Band earned straight superior ratings at the District 13 FBA Marching Music Performance Assessment on October 23rd, which is the 15th consecutive year of straight superiors. The marching band also earned superior ratings and numerous individual caption awards, including Best Music, Best Marching, Best General Effect, Best Percussion, and Best Color Guard at 2 other marching band events. The band will host a holiday charity concert on Thursday, December 2nd at Jensen Beach High School. Admission is a cash donation for Toys or Tots or canned goods / non-perishable items that will be donated to the House of Hope Food Pantry in Martin County. The concert will feature holiday selections performed by their jazz band, concert band, symphonic band, and their marching band. Both the Jensen Beach High School Marching Band and their Air Force JROTC proudly marched in the Stuart Veterans Day Parade on Thursday, November 11th. Congratulations to senior Katie Vitale, who recently won the Martin Arts Commission's Marty's Award for her outstanding talent and resume in the performing arts. And also a congratulations to the Jensen Beach High School swimming teams. The boys recently placed 17th overall and the girls placed 2nd overall in the state championship swim meet. A special congrats to senior Blair Stoneberg, who went 4 for 4 in gold medals. Martin County High School. Thank you to all the students and parents for helping to make over 300 baskets for Elevate Hope. Martin County High School will be offering an 8th grade informational ACE session for all 8th graders and their parents on November 30th at 6:30 p.m. in the auditorium to learn more about the ACE Cambridge program. Congratulations to Character Counts winners for the month of October. The following students and teachers were recognized by their teachers and colleagues for respect: Peyton Fitzberg, Angela Roblero Figuera, Kat Lugo, Wyatt Aniello, Ross Poirier, Thomas Duffin, Luke Kreber, Nicole Wilson, Sydney Wise, Margarita Raimundo Esteban, and teacher coach John Leon. Thank you to all Martin County High School members on staff who are veterans. On Wednesday, their leadership students presented Mr. John Leon, Mr. Joseph Mayers, Lieutenant Colonel Marvin Todd, Mr. Rain Hollander, Mr. Gordon Lang, and Mr. Randy LaPlante with a token of appreciation for their service to our country. The senior class took their annual panoramic picture this past Tuesday, coming together to celebrate their senior year. Martin County High School hosted Martin Leadership this month on their Education Day. A special thank you to Mr. Southwick and his culinary students for cooking a delicious meal, and for all students and teachers who assisted with the event. Congratulations to the Martin County High School varsity football team, who are not only the Martin Bowl winner and Fergie Ferguson winner, but also the district champions for the first time in 15 years. Lastly, on to South Fork. South Fork High School recently hosted All Together Now, a musical review composed of Broadway hits. Cast members from all 3 high schools worked together to raise over $1,500 for their drama departments. A special shout out goes to South Fork High School IB senior Sophia Liano, who directed and choreographed the show. The Prism Band concert will take place on December 9th, beginning at 7 p.m. at the South Fork Auditorium. Mr. Joseph Schumacher, or I should say Dr. Joseph Schumacher, who is the International Baccalaureate Coordinator, is currently in the process of registering students for their IB exams. IB pinning, a special ceremony where IB seniors welcome the juniors into the IB program, will be happening tonight at 6 p.m. in the South Fork High School auditorium. Parents and community members are invited to join Mr. Blavitt on November 17th for Pastries with the Principal. Mr. Blavitt will discuss many topics that concern student growth and academic plan in a roundtable type discussion. Guests will have an opportunity to meet Mr. Blavitt and ask any questions that they may have. The jazz band will be performing a couple of numbers to showcase their talents. There is a link to register posted on their social media informational page. The Student Government Association had an annual Thanksgiving basket drive with Elevate Hope again. They raised over 550 baskets, which were all collected from students and staff members. They were delivered directly to Elevate Hope, with tears of joy and hope shed. Spanish National Honor Society participated in El Dia de los Muertos celebration on the 28th of October with a discussion of the history and enjoyed a Mexican cuisine. In celebration of Veterans Day, students are currently writing letters and sending them to an organization where many veterans have Purple Heart Awards to show their gratitude. South Fork High School is very proud of sophomore Patrick Martin, whose picture, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, is on the screen of the district site the week of November 11th, 2021 for Veterans Day. Art Club November workshop is Plan Art Watercolor and focusing on their local landscape, which is the golf course at South Fork High School. Students are preparing their work for the Regional Scholastics Art Contest. Shout out to South Fork IB senior Christopher Carnes, who received the annual Martin's Arts Award, which is given to one high school student artist each year that has been selected as outstanding in Martin County. On November 12th, students had an opportunity to meet with Savannah College of Art admissions representative to review arts careers and have their portfolios reviewed. Full Sail University is sending a representative on December 1st, 2021. On December 2nd, during lunches, Carla Hallbrook, local musician, will perform. Carla is a native of Martin County and a 1994 graduate who was in band, theater, chorus, SGA, and has recently toured the world with many notable music groups. Carla is currently working with choir director Riva Satchel Rogers to present a piece with the South Fork High School Show Choir for students as well. Lastly, a warm congratulations to Leslie Beard, who is the South Fork High School nominee for the 2021-2022 School-Related Employee of the Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Okay, next up we have the district update. Jennifer?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, school board members, and Superintendent Millay. It's my pleasure to bring you this month's district update. So I want to start out with some really good news. Our rich tradition of academic excellence continues as the Martin County School District has been named an academically high-performing school district by the Florida Department of Education for the third consecutive year. The Martin County School District is one of just 16 school districts in the state and the only school district on the Treasure Coast to earn this prestigious award for the 2021 school year. This designation is based on school and district grades for the 18-19 school year or the 2021 school year if a school district chose to opt into their grade, financial audit reviews for the 19-20 school year, and class size compliance during the 2021 school year. Academic performance, fiscal responsibility, and systemic compliance with state regulations are all factors that ensure we are able to carry out our mission of educating all students for success. If you come across a Martin County student or employee out in our community, please congratulate them for doing their part in helping us to achieve this honor. It takes a village to raise our children, and this designation means our hard work is being recognized at the state level. So let's give everyone a round of applause. Some more good news coming from Tallahassee. Florida statute requires the Florida State Board of Education to designate a school as a school of excellence if the school's percentage of possible points earned in its school grade calculation is in the 80th percentile or higher for schools comprised of the same grade groupings, that would be elementary, middle, high, or combination, for at least 2 of the last 3 school years. This program was established to provide administrative flexibility to the state's top schools so that the instructional personnel and administrative staff at such schools were able to continue to serve their communities and increase student learning to the best of their professional ability. In the 2021 school year, 767 schools throughout the state earned this award. Congratulations to the following Martin County schools for earning this designation: Bessie Creek Elementary School, Palm City Elementary School, Hidden Oaks Middle School, Clark Advanced Learning Center, and Jensen Beach High School. Let's give those schools a round of applause. The Martin County School District named its 2021-2022 Principal and Assistant Principal of the Year on October 29th, honoring 2 veteran educators with the awards. Janice Mills of Spectrum Academy was named Principal of the Year, and Drew Connolly of South Fork High School was recognized as Assistant Principal of the Year. Dr. Millay and members of his executive cabinet traveled to both schools to deliver the surprise to each administrator. Each is known for their servant leadership and going the extra mile to ensure their schools are supportive environments focused on educating all students for success. Please join me yet again in giving a round of applause to Mrs. Mills and Mr. Connolly. As Florida schools close the book on Common Core standards, the Martin County School District is beginning a new chapter with its English and Language Arts curriculum. Advanced work happening in classrooms throughout the district is all part of the new curriculum that the Martin County School Board adopted earlier this year. While districts had the option of approving materials solely for grades K-2 this year, our school board believed it was important to invest in the new curriculum for all grade levels to ensure that students would begin their education on Florida's new best standards right away. WPTV recently took an exclusive look at how this new curriculum is helping to ensure all Martin County children continue to be educated for success.
New at 6, as Florida schools close the book on Common Core standards, the Martin County School District is beginning a new chapter with its English and Language Arts curriculum.
Only on 5 WPTV News Channel 5, Stephanie Susskind got a first-hand look at what kids are learning and how it's setting them up for success.
Are you excited? This may look like an average first grade class. The teacher reading to students, while kids listening intently, answering questions.
He didn't want to go to where?
But what happens next inside this Port Salerno Elementary School classroom sets it apart.
So she read that book, but the work they're going to do after that read aloud is they're going to be comparing and contrasting 2 of the books, and they'll be talking about what are some of the struggles that characters face.
And that advanced work happening in classrooms across the Martin County School District is all part of the new English Language Arts curriculum they adopted this year.
We had to make a big decision. We could have adopted kindergarten through 2nd grade, a new curriculum, and the reading and writing best standards. But we decided to go big and go K-12.
It's part of the new requirements from the state as it transitions away from Common Core and into the best standards. School districts needed to adapt to new English standards for kindergarten through 2nd grade, but Martin County wanted to go a step beyond.
We wanted that consistency of this curriculum was designed specifically with the best standards.
The change means new textbooks and new styles of teaching and learning, but English Language Arts Program Specialist Courtney Beard says the move is paying off.
We're finding the high expectations of this curriculum. The students have risen to the occasion. They are taking on the information like sponges.
Don't forget to include your quotation marks,
setting them up for future success. Stephanie Susskind, WPTV News Channel 5.
Parents can log on to the platform to see what their kids are learning and how they're doing. Next year, school districts will need to adopt the new math standards that will go into place.
New at 6, as Florida schools close the
And we actually have information on our website, our instructional materials adoption, for those interested in reviewing proposed materials for the math standards or getting involved in that process. Visit martinschools.org for more information about that. I'll close with a picture that really resonated with me, and I think if you have tissues handy, you might want to grab them. During a home football game last month, Martin County High School freshman Air Force JROTC cadet Abigail Shealy paid tribute to the 13 U.S. service members who lost their lives in Afghanistan earlier this year. Abigail purchased 1 flag for each fallen service member, placed them in the first row of the bleachers, and guarded that row throughout the game. As we pursue our mission of educating all students for success, this is an excellent reminder that character development and the sentiment of service before self are an important part of this goal. Thank you for your spirit and selflessness, Abigail. Until next time, you can find the latest Martin County School District news and information on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any questions on the legislative update from the board? Mr. George, did you have anything?
No.
Okay. All right, Dr. Millay,
Sure.
the superintendent update.
Sure. Good evening, Chair Powers, members of the board. Happy to be here tonight to share some good news about the district. I'm always impressed by our student representative and the information they share about our schools. Being out in the schools, talking about it and being out, there's two different things, but there's so many great things going on. I wanted to first share in the consent items that you all had approved tonight, there's two of the three guests of our recent hires. First, the one that's not able to be here, the new Director of Transportation that'll come on in December, Tom Harden. Here, I know Tom. Had a brain freeze, sorry. Excited to have Tom join us. Tom has a plethora of experience that's going to help the district. One of his greatest strengths is relationships, I think, and relating. He has a strong background with bus drivers and connecting with that. So there'll be more about him at our next meeting when he'll be here. But I want to next introduce you all to our first person that you admit was on the agenda, David Azarito. David is our new Assistant Superintendent of HR. So David, if you'll stand. There's a great list of things on his resume that's in there, but one thing I'm excited about all of our candidates. You know, I know how important relationships are with you all. They have great relationship building skills, organization skills, of course, experience in the job. But one part that David brings as well to us is Lean Six Sigma. He's a green belt in that. So part of that is expertise in streamlining processes, creating smooth processes, and making things better. So there's a lot more to that I could just share, but I'm really excited about having David on our team, and so welcome.
Thank you.
And then our next person, our new Director of Recruitment and Retention, welcome Shannon Armstrong. Shannon, if you want to stand. Shannon brings a great smile to our district. She has a contagious, positive attitude. Just a real pleasure to get to know her this recently. She has a Juris Master's in legal risk management, HR compliance, so that's one of her top accolades. She's got a strong experience. When I spoke with some of her bosses, they're like, they would steal her back anytime, so they're really excited. She brings a lot, again, of organization, positive attitude, great work experience, and back on this Lean Six Sigma, that's an important part. She's a black belt, so we look forward to learning, learning from and how they're going to help the Martin County Schools and help not just the HR department. HR helps every department, so I'm excited what they'll lend to every program. So welcome to our district.
Thank you.
And look forward as they transition in the next month. I know you all, at times, if you ever like to set up meetings and them get to know you better, I'll be working with them to set that up if you'd like. Our next item, we'll start on the board report there. Just a smattering there, just some little high points. So many good things, again, visiting the schools. The middle and high school men's choir, shout out to all the teachers, the music teachers that put that on, the school principals that make it happen. Had representation from all of our schools, hosted at the Jensen Beach High School under the graciousness of Lori Vogel. What a great sight that was, but that was a great evening. A few of the board members, I know you all were able to be there. And it was just really nice to see all these young men, middle school through high, working together and how they pulled together some common songs. It was great to see. Leadership Martin County, there's a picture there. Some of our board members have attended that as well. Just great working with that community. Our our culinary arts students at Martin County High School prepared and served the meal. And this was the first time since COVID that they've started their processes back up again. So they had to kind of get back into that routine, and it was fantastic. I still, as late as yesterday, got some nice comments about that. The music performance assessment, shout out again to all of our teams. Jensen Beach was the host of that. Martin County High School, Jensen Beach High School were both involved in that, did very well, attained superior ratings. So excited about that. That was a beautiful night to watch them do their shows. As Jen said, shout out to Janice Mills of Spectrum and Drew Connolly of South Fork as the Assistant Principal of the Year. Two very humble, hardworking, deserving people. So real pleasure talking with them. I love what Janice is, the work she's been doing, how she's helping grow kids and make connections. And Drew, I could say lots of positive things. One of the nice things about Drew is his strength with humility and humbleness. He's just such a go-to person at their school, so appreciate what they represent. I think you're proud of them, I know. The Environmental Studies Center had the open house. That was really good. I know some of you were able to make it too. That was great, and I want you to know we're still working hard to get them back plan, and I'll talk about that in some transportation update in a moment, but they are going back out to schools right now, so lessons are occurring. The staff's going to they're not having to sub for normal anymore. They're doing their lessons, so we really hope to get that open pretty soon with our goal working on that. So proud of them, and I had a nice meeting with them a few weeks ago. I went over personally outside of this and just talked about the challenges, and they were so understanding about it. So more to come about that. The homecoming parades, all of our high schools had fantastic homecoming events. Love the tradition, you gotta love parade. All three schools had that, was able to participate fully in South Forks and Jensen Beach. So all the people that put things on behind the scenes, that was great. This portion, this might be some more discussion later, and I'll send a hard copy. You want to just send that to them? This little spreadsheet that you see, of course, it's up there. This is easier to read if you want to look at later. This is just a preliminary update. We've spoken about it when I spoke with the chair, wanting to see kind of where we fell from February of the spring to October of this year. So the data you're getting that was already on the web, this is just a cleaner copy for you to look at. But it just shows the up and the increase. So Dr. Featherstone may hit a few high points. There will be more discussion on this later, but you'll notice a breakout at the bottom of the scholarships, McKay, and the Family Empowerment Scholarships. The biggest change was the Family Empowerment Scholarships, and that's part of what was legislated. And basically, those families that could be in private home schools can exercise an option that they receive public funds. So we had projected, we had kind of thought enrollment might be down, but the state had us project a certain way anyway, but we had basically held to the side several $1 million of what we thought might be decreased enrollment. And long story short, and there'll be more information on it later, but talking with Jim Hamilton, who's a finance expert that in the state of Florida with both FADs and understands Tallahassee and the state budget, a chunk portion of that money that we were paid that we thought we would send back, that will go to help offset. There was an appropriation, that was part of an appropriation from the Department of Education, will help offset what we've had to pay out for family empowerment. Still more to be seen on that, but just kind of wanted you to see where each of the schools were, where they are now. And the only reason it says preliminary information subject to, it's subject to the Department of Ed verifying that and approving it. So basically after we'll get a recalculation sometime after Christmas that we'll know a little bit more of exactly how the numbers fell. So that's just an update, and if you had any question or comment, Dr. Featherstone or Carter could give you a little information there. If not, a little update transportation update. Will you give them one of these? Didn't want all your papers to get shuffled. So in the folder are a few documents. What I kind of wanted to share, a month or so ago, some districts, and we are no different in Florida, that have experienced some real struggles in transportation. I just want to give a shout out, though, to the Transportation Department, the staff, all of our bus drivers and people that make that operation go. They are making it work, just so you'll know, every day. There's so many districts out there that have not had, and not to call different ones out, but I know there's many large ones that have had, even neighboring, over hundreds of bus routes that they've not been able to do. And some districts that I'll talk about in a minute, for instance, Pasco, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what they've done to adjust, but basically, Pasco, as we've researched, they had about 80 routes this year that they've not been able to even operate. And I'd heard Brevard, for instance, was like 65 to 67 routes out of their 200 plus that they could not even run. So Martin County Schools, we're a few drivers down, but we've not missed, we're running all of our 64 routes, just so you know. We're still 3 to 4 bus drivers down because we'll get one on, and then we have a resignation or someone that changes. So we're hopeful with some of the, I'll talk some of the strategies that I think are going to really help us. But I just want you to know, we've only had a couple instances, and we let you all know early on this year. Since the last one, about a month or so ago, we have not had any disruption of services. So we've only basically had one route a couple times that we were not able to fill, so we alerted parents very early in the morning. You know, we run our elementary routes first, then we run high school an hour later at 8, 7, 8, and then middle school at 9. So we were able to loop back and pick up anyone, but the students did all make it to school. We checked, and I'm grateful for our parents because we've been communicating that it could happen. We really didn't get any complaints on that. Many said thanks for letting us know that. So our parents, as we've all been, have been flexible too. So I just kind of wanted to share where we're at, that we're making it work. We still want to fill about 3 to 4 positions, and then we need more full-time subs. I did want you to know that we do operate 64 routes. Most of those routes do the 3 tiers in the morning and 3 in the afternoon, so elementary, high, middle, and they repeat that. A few do 2 routes because of their territory they run out, so they're not maybe able to do 3. But most do run the 3 tiers. Most of our buses, of course, are 77 passengers buses, although, just so you'll know, one of our policies is for elementaries, we can fill them capacity 100% based on the size of the students. Middle school, we operate them at 88% occupancy, which would be about 65 students. And high school, of course, their larger size, operates by policy 77%, which means about 60 high school kids. So when you have high school kids, you usually have 2 to seats, sometimes 3. And we are in the process of interviewing some drivers at this moment. A few things that I just kind of wanted to share that we're doing. First, in the job descriptions that you all approved, we've changed some recommendations. We had recommended moving the requirement for the graduation requirement to preferred. We will always prefer that. That is, this is a temporary thing of going through the pandemic. Like all school districts, employers basically have struggled to find workers. We really feel that there are people that have reached out with us, and some that have even driven a bus before that we're going to reach back out to, that may not have had that high school diploma, so now it'll be a preferred, and the goal is we'll reinstate that as soon as we can, but that'll really help us in the areas of food service, bus driving, and then our custodial help of the school. So that's going to be, we feel like will help us some. We only need a few extra, so that's one strategy. The next strategy in your sheet is this draft, and the reason it just says draft, it hasn't went out yet. Much like we help the sheriff's department, we asked some of our employees, hey, if you want to work before school starts to be a crossing guards, they could contract with the sheriff. We've had some. I don't know exactly how many it's materialized, but I know everybody knows we're working together and it's kind of calmed down. So much like that, we were going to send an email out. I've spoken with Lisa Edwards, the president of AFSCME. She felt very good with this, that much like we did that, we're going to send out to most of our staff, primarily AFSCME employees, to say, on a case-by-case basis, if we have, say, custodians or food service workers or some other workers, that if we can arrange their schedule, if they'd like to learn to drive a bus, we could have a custodian that might want to do a morning route, and we could adjust their schedule a bit. We could have a food service worker, they're usually there earlier, that wants to do an afternoon route. So we're going to train them, offer to train, offer to support them. And this would be a we hope this isn't necessarily take place, but these could turn into some long-term. So we'll see where this lands. I just kind of wanted really to share this. We had all of our teams work together. We had finance, HR, risk, or payroll, risk, and of course, to look at all the different operations, the departments that this could hit. So I just kind of wanted to share this. This would be a strategy. I don't know that I don't anticipate us getting a huge amount, but honestly, if we could get 8 to 10, that would be really good. So we will not stop our recruitment efforts. And I know we're in negotiations with AFSCME anyway, so I know you all are always aware of the compensation factors. So we're going to continue that. So I'll just share this with you. And after you digest it, the day or so, if you have any feedback, it's going to take some time. But we don't likely would put that out and kind of have a deadline and have some one-on-one conferences with them. So you have that. And then, well, any questions, just surface value on this at this point? We're just reaching, and any driver, if they go above their 40 hours, we would pay the overtime at the bus driver rate, which you all approved that structure. The next item that I just kind of wanted to share, Chair Powers, and I think a couple of you had mentioned Pasco. There were some headlines because the bus driver shortage is not unique to us, even though we're faring through it. I did give a little copy, so when it says draft on that, this is because at the time it's a draft in Pasco, and I don't know that they've approved it yet, but what I just kind of wanted to share was Pasco, it's got a front and a back. Pasco had a 3-tier model. Like us, we do 3. Now, the difference they've always had, they always staggered their first tier. And I believe the schools had started, some of the elementary started around, or the high school started around 720, and then they went to about 410 or so. They were looking at, there are 80 routes they're not running, as I understand it. And with this route, they were going to adjust to a 4-tier system and changing some start times. We checked with them, and basically what we're able to do that they've not done, like we're able to have that consistency for our parents for elementary start times, middle and high. The fact that if they implement this and it was to work, at best of the 80 routes, they might achieve maybe 20, so about a fourth. Well, at this time, we're really only having, when we have the issue, it's only with like a route, and we're able to cover it. So just putting that with us, I want us to continue to watch it, is where I'm going with it. Since we have the strategy of the job descriptions we're adjusting, and we're doing this new, we're going to ask our employees to see if we can train some more, that at present time, we'll continue to look at this, but that would be monumental to change ours. They were already at a staggered structure, so they just added a 4th, staggered more. What it did do, though, and I marked on theirs, on the page 1 of 2, I checked some of the marks, say, for the proposed. It does put them starting earlier and go until 4:20, so that could be a long day. So I just kind of wanted to share with you all, we're continuing to look at that. Right now, it's being managed. Anybody at our bus department that can drive a bus is driving. They jump right in there. Route specialists, mechanics are helping us. We're even looking at some possibilities that I'll talk, possibly some other, if we can't find, for instance, if we can't continue to find mechanics, we might be able to even post, we're looking at, we got an idea to look like a mechanic's helper, which is someone that can work under mechanic, that could do some of the basic oil changes and those types of things. So those are just some other, it's not just bus drivers, it's finding some of the other employees. So I just wanted to let you know, you all had mentioned bring this back for some discussion and feedback. We're still studying it, we're going to continue, but the transportation right now is really making it work, and we haven't had a disruption even though we've had some minor, it hasn't impacted parents, but just a couple times this year now. So I'll leave that for some questions, or for you, whatever you want to do, if you want to come back to it, or.
Does the board have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on the items, information-only reports listed? Okay, seeing none. It's about 9 minutes till 5 for public comment. What's the preference? Do we want to do public comment now and then come back to our reorg?
I think that would probably be better.
And then we can, I think we'll probably, the item number 15.01 and 15.02, the Boundary Advisory Committee and the ESSER, we'll need to take public comment at that time too, if there is anyone who wants to speak to that. So we'll go ahead with public comment. We have 5. We just ask that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and know that we will get back to you, or the superintendent will get back to you if you have questions. And, okay, first up is Margaret Brumfield, followed by Brandon Thompson.
Madam Chair, the board, and Dr. Millay, good afternoon. Good afternoon, all present. My name is Margaret Brumfield. I have been a Martin County resident for over 28 years. Today, I stand to lend my voice on behalf of our community of color. I stand to represent our children of color in Martin County. I am proud of the school district. I echo the sentiments of one of our school board members on August 17th, as he poured his heart and soul out and literally gave his body to be burned at the stake as he checked the boxes. And you can see that on August 17 on the board's YouTube. With all that being said, now on the 19th, another school board member said that he was happy that he did not have any children in Martin County school system, and that parents are fed up and want to leave the system. The school system of Martin County is for all of us, and the school system pulled with force back in the 60s, as explained by that particular board member on the 17th of August, when they pulled together to integrate and present an excellent school system. The system was still very excellent 8 years ago when my son went through this system from Gertrude Walden through Clark Advance, achieving his AA degree before he had even gotten his high school diploma. What I know for sure as a mother who raised a black son in this neighborhood is that the school system of Martin County works and is at its best when there is cooperation between parents and teachers. On the flip side, parents who fill their children's head with prejudice won't get positive results, not here and not anywhere else. It is time for all parents to educate themselves on the history of all Americans and not act on their fears and ignorance. Get involved in your children's education, read and keep learning yourself, because these tech-savvy children still need our help in becoming good human beings and good citizens. The world has changed, and we all have to change and grow with it, or we will not survive. America's history have bits we all are shocked to learn, but we have to face it. The check has to be cashed. Martin County school system is responsible to teach and to educate. Parents' responsibility is to listen to their children and help to reinforce their education. Are you doing that? My role as a citizen, as I don't presently have a child in the system, is to give back. Hence, I am here.
Thank you. So Brandon Thompson, followed by Larry Howell. Brandon? Okay, we can come back.
Yeah, I think he stepped out.
Okay, Larry Howell. and followed by, and then Amy Pritchett.
Good afternoon to the chair, Mr. Superintendent, and school board members. I'm Dr. Larry Howell, first vice president of NAACP Martin County. The NAACP works to ensure that every disadvantaged student and students of color graduate ready for college or a career by issuing access to great teaching, fair discipline, equitable resources, and challenging curriculum. All students need an equal opportunity to get a high-quality education. We need, at this time, improved standardized test scores, which are low for the disadvantaged and students of color. Graduation rate is down 75%, according to 2000-2001 school year. The suspension rate normally runs 3 times higher for African Americans, and we need to know really what's been done about these issues, as been asked before, in order for all these students to get an equal opportunity and a high-quality education. W.E.B. Du Bois was right about the problem of the 21st century. The color line divides us still.
Thank you. Amy Pritchett, followed by Frank McChrystal. Is Amy here? There she comes.
Good afternoon. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Millay. We have a parents group that meets once a month, and he graciously allowed us to have 3 speakers there to field questions from our community. April Strong, Kate McCormick, and Teresa Ialucci met with us last night, about an hour and a half, and we just really appreciate it because parents have some questions. They don't necessarily want to come before all of you and ask them, but they want to be in a kind of casual setting, and they were able to answer the questions, and the ones that couldn't be answered, they are giving us their contact information so the parents can reach out and speak to them individually. So I wanted to thank Dr. Millay for setting that up for us. Thank you.
Okay, Frank McChrystal, followed by Jimmy Smith.
Good afternoon. I don't subscribe to the Stewart News or the Treasure Coast TC Palm paper. I don't know where I saw it, but I saw a headline that said, Martin schools offer vaccinations. And it was a John McEnroe, you cannot be serious moment. Or a Joe Biden, come on, man, moment. All right. Listen, I don't know if you remember that song. I'll date myself. Something like, bless the beasts and the children, for they have no choice. Children without comorbidities, the death rate amongst kids is like next to 0. We still don't know. There's no way we'll know how safe these vaccines are for 5-10 years. So, just say it ain't so, Joe. All right? Are you really offering vaccines at the Martin County schools? Thank you for your time.
So for the record, the Martin County School District does not administer vaccinations. The health department asked to use our property, which we allowed. We give parents the individual choice to make that decision for their children. So we do not influence them. We do not advertise it that they must get a mandatory vaccination. The health department is there, and it's for individuals and parents to make that decision for their children. So thank you. Mr. Smith, followed by Gwendolyn Hall. Oh, sorry, I don't have my. Oh, thank you. Gwendolyn Hall Brinkley. Okay.
Good evening, school board members, and First of all, I want to say thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity. I want to just share with a comment of Mr. Miller. Millay. Just remember you was talking about the school board routes and all that do is bring back memories of my father. Some of you probably don't remember him. He retired as the supervisor of the school board transportation department, Mr. Willie Smith. In the 80s, helped design every route of the school board, on the school buses. And he remembered every one of them in his head. I know some of you can remember that. And just to say that, I say that the school board should come up with some idea in the remembering my father. Him and Mr. Bill Lanier way back then was the first one they ever, matter of fact, that building that sits on the corner there that we built from Martin County High School for that office. Still remains there on Martin Luther King Boulevard. I don't want to take my 3 minutes on this, but I want to remind the school board that we need to recognize the past so we can have a way of knowing where our future is. If you take away the past or anything in the school system, you mean if you don't know where you started from, you don't know where you're going. So if you take away anything from the kids, that means that the kids going to be more divided in anything you do. The Bible tells us that do not detour my little ones from the truth. And when we take anything, black history or whatever, in the school system, what it does, white history, black history, what it do is combine both of us to know each other and we can know how to work with one another. But when we separate something, just because we don't want someone else to know something, then what we do, we cripple the whole system. And I want to go back to a question that I asked about 2 years ago to the school board. Are we in compliance with the government of saying that it's the ratio of, say, 10% of black students, black and brown students in Martin County School? Do we meet that standards of saying 10% of black and brown school teachers? I don't know where we're at, but I would like to find out. And I think we discussed that before. It's a very important question because what we are having, the problem is saying that kids are falling behind for us graduating from school. Maybe we need to look into this thing differently in how we hire so we can be able to target some of these issues. If you don't understand a black kid or what they come from, how they struggle, and your life was different, you wouldn't know how to relate with them. You maybe just going to relate with them on the basis terms of the way you was raised. So we need more that so we can be able to be all together as Martin County. We come a long way, but there's a long way we still got to go. And I believe that if we build on that and stop dividing, because our kids hold the future. All us in here at age, it won't be long, all us got a day to go. And then these kids holding that, and then we put the division in them. And if you teach your child anything besides love, have mercy on you, as the word of God says. And we all gonna lay on our back and look up. We may be standing up and looking down right now, but I ask the school board to think about that in your heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gwendolyn Hall Brinkley, followed by Robin Cass.
Good afternoon. I stand here today because I came to speak on concerning the curriculum. My concern is Black history being taught in our schools. Black history has played and still plays a very important role in our past and our present. So why is it not being taught in our schools? You can't teach your history and don't teach my history. Our ancestors built America on their backs. So with that being said, some people have a problem with Black Lives Matters. I want you to know that when we say Black Lives Matters, it does not define a Marxist group. For us, Black Lives Matter is used to highlight, and it's a hashtag to highlight racism, discrimination, and inequality experienced by our people. We also know that people have a problem with defunding the police. It's not saying take monies from the police. It's saying let's find a way to train them to be able to treat me like they treat you. My sons and my daughters should feel free to be able to walk the streets, to take a jog, to go and look into a house that's being constructed without being scared or harassed. More black people are being killed by the police than any other race. We are not against the LGBT communities or no other communities. When we say Black Lives Matters, it doesn't mean that we don't consider your lives. We think it's a disgrace when we say Black Lives Matter, and you come back and tell us White Lives Matter and another Lives Matter. It does. But don't discount how we feel about our race, our children, and our black men. I raised 5 children. They all went through the Martin County school system. I have 10 grandchildren and 3 great-grands that will probably go through the school system. I'd like to see it better. So teach my history along with your history, so as Mr. Smith said, we all can come together and the kids will know what a lot better. Thank you.
Okay, Robin Cass, and followed by Reginald Mitchell. Either one.
Hi, I'm Robin Cass. I've been a Martin County resident for 23 years, and I have 2 girls who graduated from Jensen Beach High School, and I just came to make a brief statement today. I came today to stand together with members of our Black community. Their voices, their history, and their perspective are important for all of us to understand, students included. We need to promote acceptance in our community. To understand others is to learn about their experiences, past and present. The curriculum in Martin County, therefore, should include learning about difficult topics like slavery, past injustices, Jim Crow era laws. But just as important as learning history is learning about current and persistent racism issues that continue today. There are serious ongoing inequities. Students need to know that racism still exists. They need to know what unconscious bias means. So please listen to representatives of our Black community and hear their voices on how what should be included in our school lessons, plans, and textbooks. It is essential that we all understand each other better. So hopefully we can change and work together for a better community for all of us.
Thank you. Reginald Mitchell? And if Brandon Thompson is here?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. He'll be our last speaker. That's the last card I have unless there's somebody else.
Hi again, everyone. My name is Reginald Mitchell. I'm here just to express my concerns on the education and equal opportunity with our Black history. I feel like this is a serious matter, that it really needs to be, addressed, and we really need to find out a strategy so we can make this all work for everyone. And that's just all for today.
Thank you. Okay, Brandon Thompson.
Hello, my name is Brandon. I'm 28 and I'm a lifetime resident of the Treasure Coast. Growing up here as a kid, I never thought of myself as ignorant. I thought I had a pretty solid understanding of race relations in America. I learned about slavery and segregation. I learned about figures like Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and the understanding that I got from it was A, racism is bad, and B, racism is a thing of the past. I was blissfully unaware of the struggles my classmates were enduring due to their respective races. But that didn't matter because I saw that all races were equal, and I believe this sentiment extended to the eyes of the law. It took several years for me to understand just how ignorant I truly was, or rather, how I was seemingly made ignorant by design. Why did my school tell me that Thomas Jefferson fathered children with a sex slave? Why didn't they tell me Nazi Germany took influence from America's Jim Crow laws? Moreover, why wasn't I taught about how slavery still exists in the form of the American prison system, and how racism still affects every facet of society to this day, from housing and employment to even the ability to vote. I can imagine why this knowledge was omitted from the curriculum. The idea of these atrocities are still occurring in America after decades of promises to change is nothing short of shameful. But what's even more shameful is to pretend that these atrocities aren't worth acknowledging. But we are now at an age where information is more readily accessible than ever. Children are becoming more aware of the knowledge being watered down, rewritten, or withheld from them. And continuing to do so will only make them more resilient. They deserve an honest education because no kid wants to see themselves as ignorant. Thank you.
Okay, we have one more. Althea Wiley.
Good afternoon. I just have one question, and that is why? Why? I mean, I've been through all this. I'm 55 years old. I know I don't look it, but why would you take out the history? I went through Jensen Beach, Stewart Middle, Martin County. Martin County is a beautiful place. Why would you take out the history at this? I mean, it used to be a A-rated school. Top of the line school. We all bragged about being a part of Martin County. Why would you change the history? Why? That's my only question, just listening. And I just heard about this. Why would you do it? What reason would you have to take out the history of this beautiful curriculum from Martin County? That's my only question. Why?
Thank you. And I see we might have a Mr. Lloyd Jones filling out a form back there. I recognize him.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, and the other school board members. My name is Lloyd Jones. I am a longtime native of Martin County. I was born and reared here. I spent 37 years working for the Martin County Sheriff's Office, and currently I've been involved in various community activities, including ensuring that people know that they have a right to vote. I mean, I'm totally unprepared for, I'm kind of flabbergasted that I walked into the middle of this kind of conversation, truly unaware of it, but I'm glad I'm here, and thank God for being here tonight. But I tell you, I grew up in Martin County. I went to public school here. And I went to public school here when the school system was segregated during the Jim Crow era. Now, some of us kind of think that was a easy period, but for me, it was a period of denial. Because throughout my entire tenure in the Martin County School District, I didn't know a doggone thing about black history. I wasn't taught, I almost cussed. I wasn't taught anything about black history. What that did for my self-esteem, it kept me in a low pit area. I didn't think very much of myself. I didn't think very much of my surroundings, less thinking very much of the other people who looked different from me. You know, until I had the opportunity to go off and meet some of my other friends who went to other school districts from other counties who experienced the knowledge of black history and the knowledge of American history, because black history is not black history, it's American history. We've got to get that in our heads. It's no separation. It's not a lesson in segregation. It's a lesson in unity. That's what we have to understand. It binds us together. History is about healing, not about division and making us all enemies to one another. America has to heal, and we heal when we learn and know the truth. We keep lying to our children. We keep our children left out of understanding how we do evolve as a nation. See, America evolved into where we are today, and we can only continue to evolve until we know the truth. You know, you don't take Jesus out of the Bible and think you know the truth. You don't take the idea of creation out of the Bible and think you know the truth. You know, an alcoholic has got to say that they actually drank alcohol. You know, we can't dismiss who we are and where we've been. We have to evolve. So back to my own personal testimony. I went to a segregated school system. And you know something? Last year I was doing I was doing a narrative, a little autobiography about Lloyd Jones. And I'll be damned, I'm gonna say that. While I'm talking about myself, writing my own story, this old song creeped up in my head. I wish I was in Dixie. Hooray, hooray, hooray. I wasn't taught a daggone thing about any black anthem or any civil rights songs when I was a child growing up, but I learned all those Jim Crow songs. I can sing all of them right now if you all want me to. Would you like for me to sing a few songs, a few rounds? But you know something? When I went back there and thought about it, it didn't make me hate anybody. It just made me begin to have more empathy for my brothers. Made me begin to want to embrace people who've been born and tell them about my people, my story, the American story. We have to know that. Am I out of time here right now? Okay, I'll go. Listen, folks, this is America. America. We are a living testament. We are an evolving document that changes constantly. Allow it to change. Allow America to grow. Allow our children to know about the completeness of the American story. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Okay, one more. Oh,
Oh, God, am I on?
you're on. You're on. You're the last one. If you could just state your name for the record, please.
I'd be happy to. Virginia Foy. I really don't have very much to say. I don't get out much like a lot of us. But I really was so concerned about what was scheduled in terms of the curricula changes. I had to speak today, and I guess all I want to say is at least pretend to stand for something, especially the facts and the truth as we know it to exist. I want my kids and my grandbabies to know what happened in this country. I want our kids and our future generations to respect everything that happened. And in order to do that, they have to know the truth. They have to know the facts. And if you strip those references from the curriculum, they won't. It's that simple. I've lost a lot in my life, but I haven't lost my conscience. I hope that all of you today will think about your conscience and what you need to pass on. It's a good day for all of us to acquaint ourselves with our conscience and teach the facts, teach what is true, and let our future generations not repeat the mistakes that we've made in the past. Thank you.
Ma'am, may I ask you a question? Are you a former teacher here?
Excuse me?
Your name sounds familiar. Are you a former teacher here in the county?
I have children, and
No, I thought you were a teacher. That's all right.
I've been around.
I thought you taught me in high school.
Oh, I'm not that old.
Neither am I.
Thank you very much for your time. I would like to pass on a small reference for the board that I brought today, that I will walk out of here a lot happier knowing that you read it. It's called On Tyranny by Timothy Snyder. And it talks about facts and it talks about truth. Please read it. Chapter 5 and 10 particularly. Thank you.
So I see Mayor Eula Clark is here. If you would like, you can fill that out after.
Thank you.
Eula.
Good afternoon, School Board. I'm Eula Clark, 1008 Southeast 16th Court, and I can't hide myself. I'm also a public servant as the mayor of the city of Stewart, and as a parent of children who went to J.D. Parker and Jensen Beach and Martin County High School. And I am so glad that there are people who are concerned and interested in our curriculum, in the work that you do here. And I'm up here to just applaud those who have come out to really speak to you. I know that you can't respond back, and it's just such a good thing. But I wanted to say this. Our schools are still alive and well. And sometimes you have difficult times to deal with the curriculums that our administrator has to go through and the teachers have to go through. But I just want to tell you about an experience that I recently had. On last Sunday, the 7th, we got together with a book club and we had a reading with the family just next door in front of Stewart Middle School at the Shuffleboard Court. And I'm telling you, I don't care if you want to add to her paycheck or not, Mr. Millay, but Dr. Rathnaw at J.D. Parker Middle School is a gem. She came in and she's been going through COVID, and you don't get a chance to mingle with parents and mingle with students because of COVID, which is a disadvantage, but she still has that spirit of wanting to move forward and to improve and to get to know the parents throughout the community, throughout Stewart. Stewart is a dear thing to us. Stewart Middle, the elementary, and now the high school, and of course Jensen Beach High School, they're all included in our city limits. But it is just such a gem to know that they're down-to-earth people who want to really meet with the parents and want their teachers to have empathy and to understand. And when I pulled up my Google today, there was a whole list of things about teachers who've had experiences and what they regret later on. If it comes up on your Google, read that article. If not, I'm going to try to find it and send it to Dr. Millay. But listen to the folks who've been talking about curriculum, whether it's language art, whether it's history and culture, whether it's under the Florida statutes that we need to start incorporating and just letting our students know. But most important, Dr. Millay, keep working with your teachers and your administrators and make sure that we have empathy and understanding and work forward with our children, whether they're homeless, whether they have problems in their homes, domestic violence, whatever it is, deaths in their family due to COVID, loss of jobs. Education needs to go forward, and we're so proud that we can have this group of people to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. And one more, Alan. Ellen, Ellie, go and do.
Hello, my name is Elaine Goendu. To help you out with that pronunciation, thank you so much for having me here today. I had a whole big thing planned, and I'm just throwing it out the window, and I'm just going to go with this. So I came here a little over a year ago, and I asked the school district, hey guys, we need to have a diversified curriculum. This is something that's important for our children in the classroom, and this is something that we need for Martin County to be fair to all learners in the classroom. And everybody in the room was like, yeah, absolutely. We were all in agreement. It was like there was no pushback. And I think that was before it became this political wave of nonsense that we've been seeing across the county, across the country, not county. And you know what? Martin County's better than that. You know, we're good people here, and we have a good community. You could see that in whatever rallies they had across the street, regardless of whatever political affiliation comes out and does a rally. It's always done, you know, with respect and class from what I can see. You know, there's nobody breaking stuff and getting crazy. It's pretty chill here. And you know what? That's a reflection of the people that we have here. And we need to make sure that we keep Martin County, you know, a fair place for everybody and a good place for everybody. I just want to read one statistic. I usually have a whole bunch, but here's one simple one. So this is from the Pew Research Center. 71% of American registered voters, from the poll that they took, says that it makes the United States stronger when we acknowledge the country's historical flaws. 71%. That's Republicans and Democrats being polled here. So the fact is, we know what the truth is. There's a fringe element pushing against what we know to be as true, correct, and accurate. And I want you guys to feel empowered. I want you to know, look around. You know, we support you, and let's make sure that we make right decisions for our children and not let this small minority push aside truth and continue to move forward our country and this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That concludes public comment. We are going to now move to our, do we need to take a closed captioning break yet? Okay. Let's take a quick, if you don't mind, 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll tackle our reorg. So, thank you all. We're going to now move back to starting with item 2.01. So I will need a motion to approve the reorganizational and leasing corporation agenda.
I move approval of that agenda, which is items 2 through 4.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Roberts, a second by Mr. Dietrich. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, I'm going to now turn this over to the superintendent, who will be the acting chair until the reorganization is complete.
Can I savor the moment just for like 30 seconds? All right, it's over. I don't want to be chair, superintendent's enough. I do want to thank you, Chair Powers, for all that you've done for the Martin County Schools as chair too. That'll be more about that. But at this time,
Can I just say a couple?
Sure,
Just before we get started, I just want to say thank you to my fellow school board members, to the superintendent, to our whole staff. It's been a tumultuous 2 years as the chair of the school board, and I could not choose a better group of people to work beside. And thank you all so much for your confidence in allowing me to lead the board during this really trying time. And I'm honored and humbled that you had that confidence, so thank you all very much. Okay.
and I echo our sentiment as superintendent and as the district. I appreciate, Chair Powers and I meet every Monday, basically. We have
7 a.m.
Yep, 7 a.m. We talk and we communicate through the week as well, but we keep items going and conversation, and so I appreciate all the work that she does behind the scenes, and I can call her anytime. Sometimes we're talking early and late and weekends too, so I appreciate all that she's done. So at this time, though, we'll need to discuss the chair, vice chair. So on the agenda, item 3.0, the reorganization, we would need a motion to select the chair.
I'd like to make a motion to, for Mr. Anderson to be the chair.
I second that.
May I say something?
For discussion.
Okay, there's been a motion by Ms. Powers and a second by Victoria Deffenthaler, and now
May I discuss?
we'll have a discussion. Yes.
So, I did think about this could probably happen. I mean, I'm one of 5 people up here, right? And in doing so, what I want to say is that, okay, so out of the 5 of us here, I am the only one that's I actually work out of town, okay? 5 days a week. I'm usually gone from Martin County at least a minimum of 9 hours from the time I leave my house in the morning. I have some flexibility, but even being a school board member, it's been tough. Like today, believe it or not, heading over, and I left a little early. There's a train there with a load of cane coming out of Pahokee, got everything blocked up. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I said, well, you know, it's not gonna help by getting upset, but things worked out and I got here. But believe it or not, usually when you see me, and I do come to meetings, so I'm not, that's not a problem. But usually when you see me walk in the door, I've got like 5 minutes to spare. So I've been fortunate, and that works on your nerve. But that's just being a regular board member, okay? Now, with regards to the chair, could I do it? Yes. Would I be good at it? Yes. I actually believe that about myself, okay? But it would be rigid. And it would be an honor. I would be humbled by that. But if I did it, I would need a very understanding vice chair. So with that being the case, I would probably just defer. If I took it, what it'd probably do is really push me on into retirement, which that'll make my wife really happy. She's been trying, and at first I was gonna do it in November, then I said December, then I said, well, let's see what January the 25th. Then I said, well, you know what? Why don't we just wait one more school year? It'll be 30 years. And I about had it teaching, I'm gonna be honest with you. I need to quit while I'm ahead because the kids are not the same, and it's very tough out there. And I really don't need any of that. I don't even need this, and that brings me to a conversation, and I'm just kind of elaborating right now, that my wife and I had. She said, why don't you just let it all go, man? You don't need this, teaching or the school board. You need to be happy. And what did she say that for? My response, I got really intellectual with her. I said, I was always taught that the purpose in life was not to be happy, but to be useful. And what did I say that for? But she really couldn't argue with that, because really, if you're useful, happiness will follow. And yes, these types of jobs get you upset, and she don't understand my being upset sometimes. It's not that I'm upset that I'm tired of doing it probably, or it's too much. That is not it. Sometime out of being upset, good things happen. I'm pushed to do my best when I'm upset. So being upset is really a motivating factor. And being happy is really not the deal. It's being useful. Because when you're being useful and you're doing things that you know you're making a difference, you're showing compassion, that's the best. So having said that, man, it would be an honor, but you know, I don't think it'll be fair. It probably wouldn't even be fair to me. That'd just be a little too much, you know? So why don't I just let that go and we get somebody else probably.
I think you could, I just would say that I think you could, I do think you could do the job. And just know that if you did choose to take on this role, I would continue to be here to support you however I can. I'm certain that all of your fellow school board members feel the same way, that we would all be here to support you and pick up where you can't. And I know I work a full-time job too. It's hard. It's really hard being a chair because there are some extra duties. But I think, like you, you know when you kind of need to step up and be a leader. And you know, I think that you would be a good one right now, especially, and what we're dealing with in our community and our country. So you know, don't let the fact that you might not be able to be at every single meeting deter you from taking on that responsibility, because we are all here to support you. So don't let that be the reason that you don't.
And the truth of the matter is, it's not even so much that I will miss meetings, but there may be some days where I'm a little late. I mean, because I usually come to meetings, but I would just assume not bother, but whatever. I'll do whatever. Duty calls, I'll answer the call. You know? I don't know.
So is that a yes or no? Do I need to withdraw my motion or make a new one?
You can withdraw it.
Okay. All right, I will withdraw my motion, and I will make a motion that Ms. Roberts be the chair. Oh, the seconder has to agree, sorry, to my first withdrawal.
I agree.
So Ms. Powers has withdrew her motion, and Victoria Defethar withdrew hers, and then Ms. Powers has made a motion now for Lee Roberts to be board chair. Is there a second? Second by Mike DiTerlizzi. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So the board unanimously has elected Lee Roberts as chairman of the school board. At this time, we need a motion for vice chair.
Tony?
I nominate Tony Anderson.
I'll second
Second.
that.
That was such a tie. There's been a motion by Mike DiTerlizzi as, for Tony Anderson to be vice chair remain, and I could not catch the second.
I think it was me.
Lee Roberts has
It was-
seconded the motion? Oh.
I think it was
Excuse me.
I haven't got to second for 2 years.
Marcia Powers made the second.
I should get it.
Marcia Powers has seconded the motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So Tony Anderson will continue to be vice chair. Congratulations, Tony. And I want to thank you also as vice chair, because many times you have stepped up as chair when we've had meetings or workshops, and I appreciate what you do. Being a teacher first, it's such a hard job. So I always start when I thank our teachers and our staff. So thank you, because I know you can just, your mind can be so full when you leave the classroom and come in here, but appreciate all that you've done. One, also to help me transition to the community and meet so many people. So thank you.
So let me just pass
Throw that at me?
pass the gavel. You can probably, we'll switch seats the next meeting. Sure. I really wanted this seat back.
Sure.
This one.
How do you know I might not grab that seat?
I'll leave the candy and accoutrements over here.
Item 3.03 is just, and I'm almost done here, set the regular meeting dates and times. There's a calendar that has a lot of other dates, but this is the purpose, is basically just your regular meetings and times for the most part. The workshop is the first Tuesday of each month, and the board meetings are the third. There are some exceptions that are noted in there. There's a few months that you all have talked about over the year, Ms. Roberts.
So I did notice a couple things not in the regular meetings, but in the workshop piece. In the workshop piece, both on February 1st workshop and on the June 7th workshop, there's activities that are either in Tallahassee or Tampa the next morning at 7:30 in the morning, which could be problematic. And I kind of looked at those as kind of an issue. And I also don't have a problem with the July 5th. I know that July 5th was marked as having, there were two that were marked as having to be moved. One was the May one, and the other one was the July 5th one. Or no, the June, is it July 5th? Yeah, July 5th. So, you know, and I kind of looked at this whole thing, and I know that another issue becomes when we have, whether it's a meeting or whether it's a workshop, and it's right after a holiday, that sometimes that's problematic. And I didn't know, I kind of looked at the calendar and thought, I don't know whether anybody has ever considered if we did our workshops the last Thursday of the month. I love the look of.
Thursdays are like hard, like.
It's like the eve of Friday.
It's like, it's a busy day. I mean, let's see. Like, I'm already booking my calendar on Thursdays.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, one of the other things that, as we're talking about this, one of the other things that I would like the board to consider, and I know that with dates and times is, you know, Tony and I both work. So 3 o'clock it's a tough time. So even if we move it to 4 o'clock, it would work so much better for me, and I know Tony getting from his job to here. So if we could make that consideration, and I'm fine looking at a Thursday,
So what I was thinking was, maybe we could do the regular meeting piece and do that as the piece that has to be approved that goes to Tallahassee. And then maybe at the next workshop, rather than hash this all out here, we can deal with what the workshops for next year look like at our December workshop. And then at that point in time, we can figure out whether we want to have a workshop the night before you need to be in Tallahassee, whether we want to have a workshop the night before you're supposed to be in Tampa, whether we want to have a workshop the day after a holiday, whether we, you know, and kind of look at that as a kind of a more global issue and do that. Does that?
yeah, because the workshops, we don't have to send.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking the same thing with the budget workshops. I know that the budget workshops were starting in February. I really think that we need to start those workshops in January and not in February. So if we can just put off doing the workshops, budget workshops and regular workshops, and not deal with those until then. That was one issue, if everybody's okay with that. Second issue is, I know that graduations are listed in here as being 7 o'clock at night in this coming year, and I didn't know whether, I know that there had been talk before about them being earlier in the day, like we did last time, or whether we wanted them at night. I mean, there's pros and cons of both things, but I don't know. I think on the approved calendar, it just says that the graduations are on those days. It doesn't say what time of day those graduations are, but I think that's something that we probably need to decide.
And I'd like to get input from the high school.
As soon as possible. So maybe that's something that we could also discuss, instead of setting that in the calendar, you know, just leave them as the graduation days. But if we also discuss that at the December workshop, that would probably. Yes, ma'am?
Are we gonna have the December workshop on the 7th? On
Yeah.
the first Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
I'm just confirming that.
It's on
Yes.
the calendar.
Yes. Yeah.
So to sum up so far, it's been said to consider only setting the regular monthly meetings at this time, and then adjust the set the workshop meetings at the December
Right.
7th workshop.
Yeah, so everybody kind of look at their calendars and figure out if we want to change the day.
Yeah.
And that would be as presented, because those regular workshops, they're all listed.
The regular meetings.
Regular meetings, regular
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah, because some of those, like the one during spring break, the one at Thanksgiving, those have all.
Would be
have been
as
adjusted.
presented.
Yes, as presented in here.
Any other discussion around that?
No, I need to let my vice chair know, though, that the September 6th date,
You won't-
we have trim on that date, and I will not be here for that date, so.
Gave me a lot of notice.
That's how she operates. Tony, that's how she
No,
operates.
you too much.
So we would need a motion to approve the regular monthly meetings as presented, and the board will decide the workshop schedules at the next workshop in December.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Chair Marcia Powers, second by Mike DiTerlizzi. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Times are set. And the item 3.04 is approved proceedings of organization, schedule of regular meetings, names and addresses of all school district officials with annexed affidavits, and we have your addresses, and direct the superintendent as secretary to the board to file the documents within the 2 weeks with the Department of Education. We need a motion for that.
So moved.
We have a motion by Victoria Deffenthaler, a second by Mike DiTerlizzi. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And item 305, I give up my 7 minutes of fame as superintendent and chair and adjourn this reorganizational meeting. Congratulations, Ms. Roberts and Mr. Anderson.
By the way, you did a fine job as a
Thank
chairman.
It's a hard act to follow. Okay, so thank you all for your confidence in my weird behavior, but I appreciate it. Thank you. So now we have agenda item 4.01. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the appointments of the school board members as the corporate board of directors.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mike DiTerlizzi, a second by Marcia Powers. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Approval of the appointment of officers. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mike DiTerlizzi, a second by Marcia Powers. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. And I'll now adjourn the corporate meeting. And now we'll move to 15:01 with the approved agenda. We were now going to do 15:01 and 15:02 before we pick back up with everything else. So 15:01 is the district presentation on the Boundary Advisory Committee recommendations. Dr. Featherstone.
And we can recognize the chair of the committee, Commissioner Campy.
Oh, and yes, Commissioner Campy, I believe, is the chair of the committee. If you could stand up and take a bow, we're
Vice
very
chair.
happy.
No, don't let me do that.
Vice chair, Mr.
Vice Chair of the Commission, Chairman of
And chairman of the,
Yes,
yes. So
Chairman of the.
we're very happy to see you, and thank you for sticking with us for this, the 2-hour period, and we're happy to have you here.
after our meetings.
Thank you, thank you.
We also have another.
You had a short
boundary
one today,
committee- Another boundary committee member behind John. I
Yeah.
just don't remember her first name.
We have a couple members of the committee. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Millay. Again, thank you to the committee for all of the work. We do have our chair, Mr. Edward Campy, with us this evening. We have Ms. Samantha Lovelady as well as Mrs. Ouellette. And we did have Elaine Goendu, who was a member as well. And as you can imagine, he was a great asset to the committee, too. So, good evening, and tonight we have item 15.
I'm here.
He is
He
here.
heard his name.
There he is.
So glad you came. This evening's item 1501 is for sharing information again, noting that as well, Mr. DiTerlizzi served on the committee as the member of the board, and thank you for that. There's a lot of documentation that you have in front of you. We did add a little extra to your plate tonight. It looks like this. This will be uploaded to board docs once we're finished tomorrow. This document is for your dessert. And it contains by concurrency zones all of the current under construction developments that could have an impact on our schools. And so on the front page, the North CSA, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 current projects. And in each box, you'll see how many units are expected in each one of those developments. And then based on the student generator, remember that's just a calculation at 0.0221.
0.2216, yes.
That calculates the projected number of students that could possibly come out of that unit of living space. I will share with you as well that it was asked of me last at the November workshop what kind of impact we've had at Axis, which is also referred to as Watermark, the apartment complex right on Federal Highway in Jensen Beach. It was slated based on the student generator to produce approximately 63 students. We currently have 14 attending schools in our district. So that kind of gives you what the generator says versus what might be in reality. It's still an unknown, but that's currently what we have enrolled in our schools. So this document is for your consideration, your chewing on later as you think about this. I felt it was important for you to see all of the developments, and I cannot go without thanking Kimberly Everman for all of the work that she has done and continues to do to make all of these things happen.
Can I just add one thing to that? Just for your information, the developments, they have a little icon on them. The little blue icon with the star is saying that it is in construction. The ones that are red and have an A are just approved and haven't come out of the ground yet. So it kind of gives you a sense of what is actually in construction and just some that haven't quite started yet, or may not. So, thank you.
So at the direction of the board, would you like me to review where we left off after the November 2nd board workshop?
Sure.
To include the updates. Okay, so,
Excuse me, my phone's going.
So items that were shared by the committee, that were not recommended by the committee for possible boundary changes as it loads, were options 1, 2, and 3. Noting that there was a deeper discussion around option 2 by the board, and we'll share with you the new update to option 2, which is referred to in the attachments as option 7. And we actually created an option 7A that encompasses option 2 and option 7 if that were to be the direction of the board. Next item over, which was shared from the workshop, what you'll see is the document here that indicates option 4 and its impact and the number of students impacted by grade, and those are current students enrolled that would be transferring if they were transferring to the school. Remembering that the committee had recommended, if possible, a grandfathering of students who are currently enrolled in one of the high schools would not be impacted by the boundary change. So option 4, let me go to that.
Working for you?
Yeah. I'll just keep going on this one. Option 4 is this pocket right here. Option 5, this pocket here. Recommendation is that both of these pockets would go to Jensen Beach High School, taking out the overcapacity at Martin County High School. That shows you currently the option 5 has 296. Option 4 has 48 students impacted. Remembering as well, option 5 would require transportation either way. Option 4 does not require transportation to Martin County High School as they are within the 2-mile radius, and they would require transportation to Jensen Beach High School.
And just to clarify, when you're saying, for example, for option 4, when you're saying 48 students, you're talking about students that are currently right there in 8th grade this year, correct?
The calculations for the transition was looking at the students that were coming into the next grade up from 7th to 8th, and then it takes out the seniors, so, because they're already going to be graduated. So it's just looking at 9th, 10th, and 11th, and then the students that are coming in. That would be the transitioning.
Right, so it's the current 8th graders, the
Yes,
8th
ma'am.
graders that are currently there.
Oh, yes, yes.
It would be the ones that are living in that area that are currently 9th or 10th. And then I believe that in a conversation with Dr. Featherstone, that the 11th graders are considered rising seniors and are not in the, even though this 48 includes
They're actually
those,
counted.
they are included in the 48. But we would really need to know how many of those, because in the discussion or the email back and forth we had today, was that some of those 48, if they're a rising senior, and if they were grandfathered, they would probably continue to go to Martin County High School, so it would deplete that number of 48. So imagine if it's 12 in each class, right?
Yeah.
And you were saying, oh, you can grandfather in, so in the first year, you know that you would have the 12 that were the 8th graders that would be going. You know that you would have a potential 24 for the next 2 grades, but those 11th graders, we would be assuming that those 11th graders have been to Martin County High School for 3 years and would be staying at Martin County High School and wouldn't be included in that bunch. Is that correct?
Correct. So what Mrs. Roberts is referring to is in past practice, rising juniors who are rising to become seniors would be grandfathered to stay at their home school. That's past practice, and we even do that with choice students who maybe move at a point in time, and we allow the choice for them to stay at that school. If you look up here, what you'll see is the pattern down here. What you'll see, next year's 48 is representative of 6 kids who are currently in 8th grade, 22 in 9th, 15 in 10th, and only 11 in 11th grade. So the 22 through 5 is 42, adding the 6 in, it gives us the 48 students.
Right, it shows you what's coming in from the middle school level. There's not that many students coming in at that location.
Okay, and just to clarify, using that example, you would know that the 6th, 8th graders, if this were approved, the 6th, 8th graders coming in would immediately be going to Jensen Beach High School. We would assume that those 5 11th graders are not being impacted at all. They're staying where they are. So the number that we're actually impacting is actually 43 students, but really not even 43. The ones that we're impacting is the 22 and the 15, correct?
Well, the 6 here are still going to be going to a different high school than what they thought. So these
Right.
6 8th graders are going to be, thought they were going to Martin County High School, will be going to Jensen Beach High School.
Right, but if the committee's recommendation was if they were already going to the school, they would stay in that school, was it? Or was
No,
it?
ma'am.
It was to reach back to the 8th graders and allow.
Anybody moving up would be impacted by this change. It would be a ripple effect, as you had shared before. This group going in would be the first group that would be required to attend if the board wanted to grandfather in those current 9th, 10th, and 11th. That would mean that 42 students would be left, and only 6 would be required to go to the new high school.
Okay, so 6 would be required to go to the new high school. 5, you're assuming, would stay at their current school, and the total number that you're truly impacting is the 37 then? In
Correct.
the middle, correct? Because you're not giving, the point I'm trying to get to is you're not giving the 6 incoming 8th graders the option of going to Martin County High School, correct? Is that the intent of?
Correct, unless they do apply to a choice program, and then they have that opportunity as a choice student.
All right. Thank you.
So that's option 4. Questions about option 4? Okay, option 5, since we're talking numbers, allow us to share this. We have 80 eighth graders that would be coming from this pocket, noted as option 5. So those 80 eighth graders would currently be going to Anderson Middle. This option would be taking them to Murray Middle. Currently, there's 83 ninth graders, 80 10th graders, and 53 11th graders. Oh, this is going to Jensen. They currently go to Martin County High School. So this is the number of 216 currently sitting at Martin County High School and 80 incoming, making the 296. So the 80 students would be going automatically if this were an approved option or recommended. And 80 through 80 and 53 would be based on the direction of the board if this were an option as well. So option 5, again, is,
I think just minimize it a little bit.
yeah, I'm sorry, I blew it up so I could see those numbers. And there's option 5 again for the 296. Okay, and then option 6 is impacting South Fork High School. And go down a little bit. So again, I don't know if you can see this, I'm gonna blow this up just a little bit again. So option 6 has 20 incoming ninth graders that are currently in 8th grade, 29 ninth, 32 10th, 26 11th, a total of 87 kids currently attending Martin County. That would impact 107 going to South Fork.
Right.
Again, option 6. And let me zip them out.
Yeah. There you go.
And there's option 6. So those are the 3 options that are impacting the high schools, noting that the committee addressed high schools, noting the need based on capacity at Martin County High School being at 135% of the enrollment, and fish space, which is based on our district-owned properties, and then our smallest school being Jensen Beach High School at 92% capacity. So those were the recommendations as for the high school. Would you like to have any discussion or continue on?
Anybody have any discussion?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not in charge anymore.
I had to break that habit.
I know, I need to move.
We can scroll
Too
up.
hard
We
to
can
sit
scroll
here.
up.
Okay, this is middle school options that after last board's workshop, the only option that we were looking at and bringing back again was option 2. So I just wanted to bring attention to where it is. It's south of Stewart Middle School and it's south of Indian Street. And so currently everything in the blue goes to Anderson Middle. Just south here in the green is Murray Middle's zone, and the pink red is Stewart Middle. So to look at the data on option 2, before we go into 7 and 7A. We don't actually have the built-out feeder patterns on this one.
No.
So that'd be
We
something
could
we'd
work
have to
on
work
that.
on it.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll see that it would impact, and the number of riders is 259 riders. So ultimately, with transportation, students on this are being transported whether they go to Murray or whether they go to Anderson, or if their parents would be transporting them.
And this is the option that
This is the one that,
yesterday we were discussing, because it was 155 on.
yes, coming in from ninth,
Coming in from the,
going
no,
8th to
100
ninth.
This report under the not recommended changes in option 2. So the one that was considered at the workshop was showing option 2 with 155 students.
Correct.
Not the 259. Correct?
Correct. Based on the discussion at the workshop, Chair Powers recommended looking at the piece of the pie right here to the left of current option 2. Encompassed in here are 2 developments that are currently under construction, even phases being built completely out. Trillium, for example, I think 59 of the units are already sold.
right.
And we've captured 3 students who are attending schools from that complex as well. So this is now option 7. And staff, we went back and re-looked at this, and we discussed the possibility of looking at this as option 7A, which 7A would be encompassing all of 2 and 7, noting that this impact is unknown from option 7, as we do not know what the actual number of students will be that will come out of the units currently being built.
The apartment buildings that are there, Harbor Grove, are not going to be open to the public or for leasing until July of 2022. So although they're being built, the students are not arriving as of yet.
If you don't mind me adding, I think one practical part with that option being added was just the consideration for the board that you would go from driving through the middle school territory for Anderson, drive through all of that piece there, which would be Murray, back into kind of a segregated area for Anderson Middle School. So both can work, but you just understanding that if you kind of imagine how that would look, you have a zone for Anderson kind of over to itself. Again, works, but just practically with it.
And not only that, the one where all the red dots are is option 5, which option 5 has, which was a recommendation from the committee, has sending those students from Martin County High School to Jensen Beach High School.
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't address that in your option 7 or 7A, it means that that group would be staying at Martin County High School instead of potentially being treated like that whole group there.
Correct. So one of the things that we didn't share at the workshop that we probably should, when the maps are actually created that we shared with the committee, the software that Kimberly uses, it will encapsulate the students who are going to those schools, so it kind of creates a boundary based on that area. One of the things that we were discussing when we were looking at this, as we start looking at big picture, is looking at the whole county, the whole map of the county, and looking, as Mrs. Roberts has also suggested, the feeder patterns. But if you were to look at this overlay, and you would think if we were to have, and why is this pocket pulled out here? Why is this pocket pulled out here? We don't know, but maybe that's the opportunity with further digging into data to say, does that maybe make sense to look at this? This is this zone. You go this way, you go to these schools, you go this way, you go to these schools. Again, what we didn't share or state is in the high school options 4, 5, and 6, we also know that there is a charter high school going out in Indiantown. We do not know what impact that will have, if the projected 400 students will impact all of South Fork, if they'll impact Palm Beach County, if they'll impact Martin County. We don't know what that impact will be as well at this time.
So one of the other things I know when we met, and something that we didn't really task the committee with, is we've been talking a lot about safety and students crossing busy roads like US 1. Like in this area, to me, it makes sense to have kids not be forced to cross US 1 to go to Anderson, but to stay on that side of US 1 and go to Murray Middle School from a safety standpoint. I mean, we had another student hit by a car down in that South Stewart area. I think this is a good opportunity for us to try to, I know it's not going to be perfect everywhere, but to try to address some of those particularly dangerous intersections. And I think it's more important in middle school because of the late start, so more of those kids are walking to school or riding their bikes than, you know, their parent isn't dropping them off at 8:50 for the, you know. And I hate to see kids sitting out in front of Stewart Middle School at 7:30 in the morning and the gate doesn't open until 8:50 because their parents have to go to work. So, but if they had a safer way to get to school, maybe that would help. So I think it's a good time to try to address some of that. It's very complex, very, very complex.
It is, and I started going through and doing the staffing pieces as far as assistant principals and deans, and when you do option 4, 5, and 6, what that decreases Martin County by, what it increases Jensen Beach by, and what that means as far as their staffing, as for whether they're losing a dean, adding a dean, losing an assistant, adding an assistant, and that type of thing. So that's a whole nother generation piece, which, and then the other question, which I'd asked Dr. Featherstone, that I think we need to consider is that if we did do, say, option 5, and say Mike lives in option 5's area, and you have the ability to choose now that instead of going to Martin County High School, you go to Jensen Beach High School, it makes logical sense to me that once you choose, you choose. That he doesn't get to go to Jensen Beach for 1 year and then decide, oh, no, now I want to go back because I was there before. You know, you can't.
Right. You make your choice.
Once you made your choice, that's what you do. And I would think that if he didn't make the choice the first year, you know, let's say he's a 10th grader next year and he says, no, I want to stay at Martin County High School, that he still has the ability the next year, since everybody around him is going to Jensen Beach, that he can go to Jensen Beach too. But once
that's
you've
it.
gone, you can't go backwards. You can only go,
One choice,
yeah,
one time. Well,
yeah, in the forward direction.
Yeah.
Did you have more?
Madam Chair, that is all of the information that we have shared, and at this point, we're looking for direction from the board. If this is your wish to put something forward for a vote for change on the December meeting, or if it's your direction to have us continue working on this, moving forward and spending another year. It was the recommendation as well of the committee that the committee meet every 5 years. In statute, you meet annually, so it's up to the board that you meet. And it's not an unwise decision possibly to consider meeting next year and the year after, noting that all of these developments that are coming forward will have an impact on our schools. And not knowing what that looks like, it's difficult to draw boundaries not knowing.
Right, and when I'm looking at your numbers, even though you're looking at the 48, the 296, and the 107, which is 451, if I take out the 8th graders that are coming in, and I don't consider the 11th graders that would be rising seniors, that number in between, the 2 grades in between, is 261 students. So that chops your number from the 451. Potentially you have 451, but the number that actually is, say, the Mike that's making a choice is 261. But I look to the board as to what you want to do with this. I mean, from my perspective, I think that the 4, 5, and 6 make sense, but I do think that we need to address the sliver piece of the people who haven't moved in yet, but.
I thought the 4 and 6 makes sense, and maybe waiting on the 5. I don't know. I mean, if we.
Want to hear from Chairman Campy?
And me.
Yeah, I'd like to,
Yeah,
I'd kind of like to hear
Yeah,
from some of
that's
the
Maybe Chair
committee
Campbell would like to
some of the
talk.
committee members.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent. First off, I'd like to thank Dr. Featherstone and Kimberly. They made the process for our group very easy. They are exceptionally knowledgeable. Kimberly, I know, has worked on collaborating with not just Martin County, the BOCC, but the City of Stewart and Indiantown. the group that you put together, and I'd like to thank Mr. DiTerlizzi for appointing me as one of his appointees for the board. It was a very educational process. I know that in the past, there's been a lot of controversy, and that I guess in other communities, this was a contentious possibility, but I didn't go into it thinking that, and I think the board that you put together, all of your appointees, was a who's who of each of the communities. We got along great. There was a lot of philosophical discussion before we got into the meat and potatoes like you are doing this evening, trying to take into consideration life cycle, where if you started in an elementary school and then went to middle and then went to high school, we weren't just like looking at pieces of a puzzle. We also, Pam was a leader in the philosophy that we didn't want to completely disrupt families. If you had an older sibling that was a tiger and all of a sudden you're a falcon, there was sort of a family dynamic. A lot of people are proud to say, I went to Martin County High School, even grown-ups, or now people that are bulldogs. So we didn't want to just cavalierly just move families and communities around like that. If you went back and looked at the map, some of it was relatively easy. That first option north of Monterey, those were little alcoves, enclaves, if you will, and we felt that those made perfect sense to slice at a geographic, see that option 4 right there. Everything in pink is Jensen Beach High School, and everything in blue is Martin County High School. Now, we did consider the fact that you could easily walk from that community right down Willoughby and go to Martin County High School. But if you look at the surrounding pink, it wasn't like a weird stretch to say that community could go to Jensen. And then if you look at option 5 there, that one was a little bit different, but we needed to look at balancing the schools. Martin County High School, as the doctor had said, was at 135% capacity, and the other 2 were less. So we knew we had to do something. We didn't make recommendations for elementary and middle schools simply because there wasn't a glaring kind of imbalance with the schools that the way we saw it, except when you looked at that other option there for 7A, we felt that if you were coming out of middle school and everyone else around you was going to Martin County High School and we were going to ask you now to go to Jensen, we thought we could start that process in middle school. The concept of allowing that grandfathering in beyond just juniors was the fact that, like we said earlier, if you're a member of the family and you had an older sibling that carpooled you as a freshman or as a sophomore, we didn't want to make this a process where this room will be filled up when this hits the communities and people like setting their hair on fire saying, what are you doing? We wanted to give that option. Now, Martin County is extremely fortunate to have the academies. And a lot of us that you had selected to be part of this committee, we knew very well the benefits of the district. But we're also, most of us were parents, either, like many of you, my kids have gone right through the system and are all gone now. But I remember hearing parents in Palm City say, if you wanted your kids to go to Jensen Beach High School to play baseball, or you would just look at the academies and decide, well, okay, I'm going to utilize those academies as my entree into these high schools. And we didn't want to do that. We didn't want people to start potentially gaming the system, using academies that they weren't genuinely interested in being in purely to get into the school. So we thought by grandfathering, and I think that was Alan's idea of grandfathering in folks to have that ability. It's not so disruptive. So to Chair Roberts' point, that the process of correcting the imbalances of the high school might take 3 years to get there. The 8th graders that were coming out of one, I think that's a clean break. If you start going down into middle schools, well, you can stay in your middle school and then we'll pick. And then in regards to your discussion on that little sliver of a new community, I think that's a very important point that maybe as a board you would look at those, especially now that you've received that information of where these new communities are. We spend a lot of time trying to figure that out as well. Out in Palm City, we have the original Pineland Prairie that's now called Newfield. that will potentially be a game changer when it completely starts to rev up. But it's a 20-year project, that one in particular. But some of these other places, if you look behind Aldi's, if you look behind Walmart, they're going up tilt wall construction very quickly. I think as a recommendation, primarily from myself, since we didn't really get into this level at the committee, would be, as a board, you should look at especially the ones that have the red star that are under construction and say, we don't know how many kids are going to come out of these communities, but we know that this community should be Murray Middle, and this community will be whatever elementary school you all feel is appropriate. So when people either move into there or rent in there, they know ahead of time, this is where you're going to school. And, you know, I think each of the schools have enough capacity opportunities that you won't get caught, you know, short and saying, oh my God, we're going to have to move these kids out. We even got to the point of a conversation about the viability of portables. And, you know, and then what's the other thing called? Concretables. I never even heard that word before the committee. Concretables. I would tell you that in my own experience with portables at Palm City Elementary School, and when my kids went there, Palm City Elementary School, before there was a Citrus, we had 925 students at Palm City Elementary for a while, and I think now it's down to, what, 600 or 700. And I, as a parent with 3 children there, would have preferred to put my kids in portables at our neighborhood elementary school than put them in a classroom somewhere else. So, and I think especially the portables, as a parent, I would tell you that it's about the teacher and the education. Palm City Elementary School, when we first moved here, and we looked at that school, coming from a big, beautiful, red brick Georgian elementary school where my oldest daughter started, we were surprised at the look of the Palm City Elementary School, but it didn't take us more than a couple of weeks to realize, I don't care what the elementary school looked like. I cared about the principal, I cared about the teachers, I cared about the staff. So with that in mind, we all as a committee agreed that we'd rather see you put a couple of portables back on a campus to keep the students where they started versus, okay, well, you know, we need to take 50 kids and move them somewhere else, so we're just going to uproot them. So I can answer questions. I wanted to again thank you for the opportunity. It was a great group. We had originally calendared meeting after meeting after meeting. I think we met 4 times. And
We still have one for December in case we need to.
okay, well, you know, let me know. And then finally, I would leave you with a quote that hangs in my office that seems like the perfect time to tell you all especially, is without the profession of teaching, there are no other professions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campy. And I echo Mr. Campy's sentiments of the committee. They were a great team to work with and always came to the table with great ideas, so.
Are there any other members of the committee that would like to say anything?
Just come up to the mic, so people on TV can hear you.
Yeah.
Smile.
Mr. Campy pretty much spoke about everything that we discussed in the meeting. The only other thing that we also discussed was the busing options for students. So students who would be in elementary school would also bus in middle school and would also bus in high school. So it wouldn't be like a situation where a student would bus and then a student would become a walker and then become a bus rider. So it was, there's continuity in that process. That was the only other thing I thought of.
Thank you.
I would like to really express my thanks to Commissioner Campy and the other committee members. As I think Mrs. Roberts said, I think we all agree this is a complex thing. And there is no perfect way, but this is the way the process should work. I mean, we have input from everyone. And I just want to be clear, because I've been misquoted or whatever by the self-appointed, anointed person that's, I guess, our modern-day Mike Wallace or Walter Cronkite. You guys probably don't remember him, but he sits here with his laptop and, you know, but just tell it the way it goes, okay? I don't have anything against parents. Parents should be a part of the process. I said that's just one part of it, okay? Now, I'm being nice tonight. I'm not gonna be so nice the next time, and I think if you get my drift, because I will stand up and fight for anybody, teachers, administrators, custodians, anybody. That's my job as a board member. I'd be damned if you think I ain't gonna fight for myself, okay? So tell it right. If you're gonna be a writer, and just stop it. Stop it, man, okay? You're just a figment of your own imagination.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would like to say thank you to the committee. I know I'm happy to, that everybody had a voice and was able to, give their input. And as a group, you came together, and I think we have some really viable options. So with that, I think we bring this back to the board in December. I know that there was, have we asked? We need to just make sure there's nobody here. I don't think there's anybody here from the public that wants to speak on this, which is kind of why we did it later, but also to make the notification to the families that will be impacted by the change so that they truly understand what their options are going into the next school year.
So I'm thinking that the 451 students, which would include the rising 11th grader, the 11th graders that are rising, the 10th, the 9th graders, and the incoming 8th graders.
Right.
That number for 4, 5, and 6, just take 4, 5, and 6, that if we nail that down, that's something that we're considering, then I think that our public information officer could craft something that is saying that this is something that we're considering, this is potentially what it would look like. If you have something you want to say about it, please let us know, et cetera, because this is something that affects you. So I think I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think we need to narrow down, so if we have no interest in 1, 2, and 3, for example, then we don't need to open that barrel of worms at this point of notifying those people that we're going there. So if we just dealt with the 4, 5, and 6 and said, okay, we know that we want those people to be notified that we're moving forward with that, I think that's a.
And then from a timing standpoint, do you see this coming, or this would come, we would notify the parents, this would be advertised again for them to come at that point to comment at our December meeting and then possibly take final action in January?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I would be looking at.
all
Does
right,
that
yeah,
make
I'm good
sense?
with that.
So
Yeah.
years ago, we had issues when I served on the other local government authority with people who didn't realize that the property across the street from them was zoned industrial. So we had asked a bunch of the large landowners to put signs up stating that this is going to be a future industrial development. And people realized it and didn't fight it when it came because they knew they had their rights. So I'm thinking on those lines, I know when developers come in, and we have a lot of there's these projects are all over the town, do they contact you and say, ask what schools are these kids going to go to? Because maybe we put together our maps and we give it to those people that are marketing those projects. So there's total transparency, and somewhere on that map say subject to change. But at least they know that this is where they can tell them, your student will go to Anderson Middle School, your student will go to Martin County High School, Jensen, whatever. At least they would be able to show that to the incoming residents. And after the change is made, bless you, after this change, when we decide to make this change, whatever way it goes, I think it might be something that might be nice to give to the certain sectors of the community.
Just for informational, all the planning offices at the county, the city, the Village of Indiantown, and Ocean Breeze, part of the submittal package for new development, requirement for concurrency for the Florida State, is to submit to the district the intended units, the impact by phasing, and we ask for a 2-mile radius of a map of where the project is. So every time a development comes on board, the planners from the county, city are sending me the development application that's part of their package and I provide a concurrency analysis. Even if it's a zoning, I do a general, but if it's an actual final site plan, that's when I do a hard school concurrency determination, and I vest those seats into that school.
Do you notify them of which schools that the students will go
Yes,
to?
it's
Good.
all part of the concurrency document, and it's part of the process as far as when it gets built out, so.
But there's no, when you give that document, there's no guarantee that those kids are going to actually go to
Correct.
those
No.
specific schools. So
Correct.
we're
Right.
not obligated.
Correct.
Right.
And it says
I
so on
understand
the,
that.
on the
Right.
concurrency document that
Yeah.
there's no absolute definition that they will go there.
I mean, the biggest question I get as a board member is, you know, which schools are my kids going to go to? You know, we want to move to Palm City, or we want to move to Jensen Beach or Hope Sound. Which schools are my kids going to go to? Because we've heard great things about your schools. So if we could get that in front of them before they even come here, when they're looking, it would have to deal with the marketing organization. But at least have that map, and they could post it where they want, or they could do nothing with it.
And it's unprecedented times right now. I mean, I am so busy, if you can imagine, with applications, and so much is happening to our county right now. And we haven't done this process in 10-plus years. So there's so many ideas and things, lessons learned that are coming out of it, like alignment, like safety, like notification and public participation. I think it's all important as we go forward with this committee that is part of the steps.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So then the question that rises next is about the 7 piece, the Trillium and the piece that's behind the Flamingo Diner, whatever that one's called.
Harbor Grove. Harbor Grove.
All right.
It's apartments, Trillium is townhomes.
Yeah, I mean, I just,
Yeah.
so do we want to tackle that one as well as the 4, 5, and 6 for comment in?
Well, I think we have
December
to
and-
make a decision on 7 because I think people are going to want to know what's going to happen with,
So do you feel 7 high school and middle school? Or do you feel 7 just for high school?
I would be fine either way, honestly. I just think it's a big enough group of kids that would move together, whether they are continuous with every single kid that they went to middle school with and then same high school, I would be okay with the middle school splitting. I don't think it's.
Middle school and high school, I think.
What do you think?
Middle school and high school.
Middle school and high school? Tony? What-
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mike?
Yeah, middle and high.
Middle and high. So we have 4, 5, and 6, and then 7 for middle and high.
7A.
No.
No,
that'd be
7. 7A
7.
is 2 plus 7. 7,
Just 7,
just the
the little piece.
the
7.
sliver that's 7.
Okay.
But both for middle and high school for 7.
Okay.
7A would be considering that you're taking 2 and 7. So I don't think did the board have any interest in 2?
So can I ask for clarification?
Yes, ma'am.
So option 7, which is in the black lines inside the pink,
Correct.
this was not part of the high school options. Is this going to go to,
It would be the same high school that your number 5 would be. So
Which is
you would
Jensen.
take that to go to Jensen, so that as the people to the right of them are going to Jensen, they would also be going to Jensen.
so
Right.
may I ask also if you'll notice that, like we had said before, we captured the pockets?
Right.
So you'll notice that this will be for a middle school recommendation down the road, possibly. If this is all going down to Murray, then this pocket would come like this for the next round to address this group if you were going to address it down the road. Do we want to, in the option, I apologize for all of these openings, but I'm afraid to go to the wrong one.
You're talking about 2?
Yeah, actually 5. I want to go to 5.
Oh, you're talking about the line for 5 being different than the line for 7A?
This is the high schools. These are all AMS. Here we go. So if you'll notice in this diagram, so this is only encapsulating this pocket of residents right now, which is, this is part of option 2 as well. So 2 and 5 are the same packets. So if you were to mirror 5 with option 2 and 7 at both levels, middle and high, 7 would be all of this, and it would come down to where the line actually meets Murray, which is about here. So what
No,
I'm.
that wasn't what, when we discussed it at the workshop, that wasn't what we were considering 7 to be. We were considering 7, I would say, to be more like marketplace.
I think that's where it
Because we're
ended.
just trying to pick up, I know you've
Up
drawn
here.
that, but we're just trying to pick up the 2 developments.
So it'll stop here.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're trying to pick up, and if it ends up notching for high school or for middle school, that's the way it would notch, but, do you understand?
Didn't go to.
Yes, ma'am. My wondering is would it be appropriate that those would be considered to go to Stewart Middle, which then goes to Jensen Beach High School? Because now you have this pocket here going to Anderson
To Murray.
above Murray, that's not going to go to Murray because Market goes right here.
But, well, no, because that's US 1.
And 2, when you were talking about 2, which is the 5, you were talking about 2 moving from Anderson to Murray,
Correct.
correct? So those people who live in that pocket there, the 5 and 2 pocket, if you did 5 and 2, they would be going to Murray and then to Jensen Beach High School, correct?
So we can go the other
Correct.
direction if we want to. Mhm. Yeah, we could adjust that.
Well, I think we need to look at it, but, if we're dealing with 4, 5, and 6, which does not include a middle school, right?
Correct.
We need to know that when we're looking at 7, right? And we're
Yes.
dealing with high school for 7.
Okay.
We need to know what it looks like in both directions for middle
Okay.
school. So that, does that make sense to everybody?
And-
Yes, and I'd like to get updated numbers, like as far as if there's more dots in 7.
More dots of,
For
Right,
students actually attending that could
right,
have
because we
enrolled.
have a new October survey that may show more.
well, in 7, in that piece of 7, the only, if you stop at Walmart, the only residential are those 2, I mean, there's nobody living at the
Correct, but-
Homeland Security property.
right,
Or
right,
those
but
places.
She's just saying there may be new
more
students
students in
that
that
have
location.
enrolled because of the
Right,
buildings
that's
being
so brand
available.
new. Now
This,
it's-
the data
Yeah,
that
they're
we
almost-
have
they're
is
just
from
about
But nobody's
August.
moved into those.
Oh, yes.
Yes, they have.
They
There's
have-
only 10 left in the townhomes. There's,
Trillium.
yeah, 59 have already
Okay.
sold, I believe.
Okay, so we
Yeah,
should be
they're-
able to get an update.
They're real close to completion.
Right, right. So I would like to see how many are actually
track
in that
some of that.
development. And, I mean, just for information. We'll
Right.
still look at it either way.
Right.
Okay.
If you need us to get the band back together, we can.
Yeah.
In December.
And maybe it would be helpful,
You guys
well,
have, yeah.
would the band get back before our workshop? Or before, they would before the meeting.
December 2nd, I believe, is our next
No, but they would before
possible
the meeting.
Before our December meeting.
So maybe you
Yes.
could get the band back
Yes.
together for the sole purpose of looking
7.
at that abbreviated option 7 piece.
Okay.
And what that looks like going north or going south, sending them to Stewart Middle or sending them down the other direction.
And then also, would it be all going to Jensen? Or was there an option for them to go somewhere else for high school?
Well, the only option they would have would be, I mean, right now they're zoned for Martin County. So the only thing they would, if you changed it, they would be going to Jensen.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
Correct.
send them to Southport, right?
No, I wouldn't.
So I think that one's kind of clear cut as to, we need to give
But
direction on
put
where
that
that.
option on the table as well.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
but so 7 in 2 parts,
Got it.
okay? So, and then we'll do the notification for 4, 5, and 6. If you can also do the notification for the Trillium people. December, and Jennifer will take care of the parent notification, letting them know that if they have comments, we would be
Yes,
looking to
we've
hear them
sent
by
the
December.
database.
Yeah.
The band will come back together, and then we'll look for voting on it in January.
So December, we'll bring another presentation to the board, and have that information for you. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm happy to meet with you and go over the individual options as well.
Okay.
Thank you all.
And can we try to have the comments back from parents, let them know that we'd like those comments before the committee meets? Because that would be, I think, helpful to them.
Comments from the committee back?
From the community
When
back,
you're done,
so
yeah.
the committee has as much information as possible at their meeting.
I'll work with Mr. Shaza.
And like Mr. Campy just said, we're going from one school to a good school, so all these moves are going to one of our wonderful schools, so.
And I also think that it's important that we send them mail, like with a stamp on it, instead of counting on them, since we know that not everybody has a district account that looks at their receipt of mail that way. I mean, I think that it would be prudent to be able to send them something so they would have a piece of paper in their hand. And it isn't a matter of, well, I didn't check my student's account because I wasn't expecting a report card. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Before Commissioner Campy leaves, can we just talk about redistricting? That was one of my, I had to leave the meeting. I couldn't stay the whole time. It was a very well-attended meeting with lots of public comment. But just to share what the result of redistricting was, and that item will be coming back to us in December to
Right,
approve.
and that's listed on our agenda as 1704. And if we could, when we finish this meeting, the email that the board members received from Dr. Millay, that was the background information from Taryn Krista, if we could include that as an attachment for 1704, so at least the public has that. But yes, Commissioner Campy,
I
well,
will change hats and address you as a Martin County Commissioner. We did also today have our redistricting. Just like you, our board members are not allowed to speak to each other outside of the meeting. So our staff was tasked with meeting with us individually, and some of the changes are dramatic. Staff had several different, just like this last option for your schools, we had several different options, 1, 2, and 3. Our goal, I think, is, as your goal is that with the 5 districts, we take a census number that we just recently received, and then divide it by 5 and try to have all 5 of the districts be very close, within 1% of each other. And that required a lot of maneuvering. District 5, which is the same district that Commissioner, School Board Member Lizzie and I share, historically went from the river in South Fork, all the way to the lake, the full Martin grade, all the way the western portion of the county. And currently, the option that we're closest to would have District 5 ending at Allapattah. So all of the western portion of the county would come from Hobe Sound, which is District 3, and come all the way, all of Indiantown now would be completely encased in District 3, and District 3 would go all the way up to the northwestern corner of the county, simply because there's not a lot of residents out there. We try to use the C-44 canal as one of our landmarks, and we've had a couple of the options where one side of the street on the north side of the canal, south side of Citrus, would fall into District 3. And just like I were maneuvering here, I personally didn't like that as an option. Even though Citrus is different than East Ocean, where one side of the street was in one district, and the other side of the street, your neighbor, would be in a different district. And the problem at the county level would be that if we were doing traffic calming or streetscape work, that would fall across 2 different districts, and then you have 2 different commissioners involved. So I would tell you in recap that the 3 versions that staff brought forward, hoping that we would agree, at least a majority of it would agree, that the 3rd option would be the option and we would send staff on their way. It's not how it went. We have no option. At this point, there was some discussion on individual neighborhoods that should go one way or the other. And so we were having a thing, trying to figure out how we would do turf wars. And so we're not there yet. They did tell us that they looked at each of where each of you live, so that we weren't going to district you or, redistrict you out of your current districts here. They've also looked, and I don't know if they did it with school board appointees, but we looked at our appointees for certain committees, if you were on the LPA or something like that, that we wouldn't have redistricted those members out. By state statute, it has to be done by the end of the year. We have 2 meetings in December, December 7th and December 14th. But then, once we do come up with that version, it then has to be sent to the county's surveyor and completely legally mapped out. So it's a Herculean effort that we just shaved off a couple of weeks, and I think there's Thanksgiving is in there and a couple other things. So it wasn't a slam dunk. The school district moves were much more consistent, and you had a much more amicable conversation about how the districts would work. Which for us, I said at the meeting today, I thought redistricting students was more, had more of a potential disruptive effect than just redistricting. Because what our residents have to remember, just like for you all, everyone in the county votes for every one of you. It's not like you live in your district and your constituents vote in your district for you. Is spearheading the effort for us at the county and also was on the committee here, was probably frustrated with how it went.
So you'll probably have it early at your first meeting in December then,
We
right?
have to, yeah. So they're going to go back and meet. The problem is we've never had a chance to discuss it with each other until today. So, and Marcia, had you waited, we didn't take it up until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So it would have sat there for a while.
So I did have conversations. You'll get to sit down now with, I sat down with the chairwoman, Hetherington. So I know Doug Smith, you'll get to sit down with Doug and kind of maybe you all can look at that and see how it
So
works out.
they'll be having their meeting before we have our December workshop. So we'll maybe put it on our December workshop piece,
Yeah.
because by then they'll know.
Or at least, hopefully something, because
Is
you
your
only have one
workshop
more
on
meeting.
December 7th as well?
Yeah.
So I don't believe our meeting will, and you meet at what, 4 o'clock in the afternoon for those workshops? I don't believe that our meeting will go till 4. Of course, now it will, but if it doesn't, I will come over and give you an update.
Okay, thank you.
As it happens, update on what we came up with. We have no choice but to come up with something. And then they'd have to completely handle it within 1 week, because the December 14th, short of us having an emergency meeting into the holidays, which
Yeah.
I don't think any of us are looking for, we'll have to have it worked out by the 14th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Kennedy.
Okay, back to our normal agenda. 1502, the ESSER plan, American Rescue Plan piece. Dr. Miller, and if there's anybody here from the public who wants to weigh in on this, you can get ready for that. Dr. Miller?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Superintendent, members of the board. It's my pleasure to share with you again some documents that you've seen. We have our American Rescue Plan, spending plan, and we also have our instructional continuity plan. The Florida Department of Education tasked every school district with creating a revised instructional continuity plan based upon categories that they gave to us and a template they gave to us, so that just a little explanation as to why sentences and content seems to run together a little bit. It's the way that it's put together from the platform. So both of those documents are included for you and any member of the public who wishes to provide any input or feedback. We're very interested as a district staff, and I know you are as well as the school board, in hearing from any member of our Martin County community on both the plan and the spending of ESSER funds. So, Madam Chair, if you would like at this time, I know you asked if there was anyone, but again, if there's anyone who would like to speak, we'd be happy to hear.
Madam Chair?
He's getting up. He has something to say.
I also invited the community. I do the radio show on Mondays, and I discussed this, just what it would be, and invited all members of the community, students, different groups, clubs, organizations, that reminded them of our meeting, that if they had input, they could find our plan, so.
And are we going to push this out on social media as well, just to?
Yeah, if we could put a link out to the instructional continuity plan and to the overall piece.
We can do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that moves us down to 1701. So 1701, 2, and 3 are reports for the Legislative Subcommittee of the Advocacy Committee for FSBA and the actual meeting notes for the Advocacy Committee for FSBA. If anybody had any questions on any of those, that's the normal weekly or monthly call. And then we have action items. So we'll go ahead and take 10.01 first, which was pulled off of the consent item. That is a Marion Robert Pugh Public Education Fund grant for, I believe, Port Salerno, is that correct? And I'm the one who pulled that. I just wanted to, I know that there'll be some grant compliance and reporting, and I just wanted to understand, I don't know who's going to answer this. I just wanted to understand who would be completing that and who would be reviewing it before it goes back.
Thank you, Mrs. Roberts. Tracy Miller, Assistant Superintendent of Academics, and we also have Lauren Gifford here, the interim principal at Port Salerno Elementary. The grant reporting takes place at the school site, so Mrs. Gifford would be responsible, and as always, the district staff is here to support as they work through both the application and the reporting system for reporting back to the Marion Robert Pugh Public Education Fund.
So is there does downtown look at it before your final report goes in? Yes?
Madam Chair, board members, Superintendent Millay, Lauren Gifford, interim principal at Port Salerno Elementary School. I love your mug, Ms. Roberts. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Move on.
We do work well with the district. In fact, with our grant that we have provided to the Marion Robert Pugh Foundation, I've worked with Dr. Miller to review that to make sure that we're in compliance of the components.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure that when you do your final grant compliance and your final report, that somebody downtown gives you an extra pair of eyes to kind of help you out before you send it in.
Absolutely.
Just so you don't feel like you're hanging out there by yourself.
Thank you, absolutely.
Okay. Is there,
I move approval of 10.01.
Second.
I have a motion by Marcia Powers, a second from Victoria Deffenthaler to approve 10.01. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your support.
And we now move to the rest of the action items. 19.01, that item has been updated at school board travel. State law requires that we take public input or public comment on anything that's school board travel advertised. Is there anybody from the public that has anything they'd like to say or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Yes, I move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Marcia Powers and a second by Tony Anderson to approve 19.01 as updated. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. 1902, SAC memberships.
I move approval of 19.02.
Second.
I have a motion by Marcia Powers and a second by Victoria Deffenthaler to approve 19.02 SAC memberships. Is there any discussion?
I just want to say that I've been reviewing, probably more than halfway through, looking at those, and I'm impressed with, what they've put out, and I may send some notes to Dr. Millay and to the schools, or actually to you and Mary White. Yes, Dr. White. Yes? Oh, I'm sorry. So I have been reviewing those, and yes. And so I have some notes that I would like to send to you and Dr. Millay to share, if you think they're worth sharing. But there was a lot of good information in there and a lot of push forward, so to speak, in terms of what they're looking at in terms of percentages and where they need to raise. And also some of the information regarding climate and culture, which I think is really extremely important. So I don't have my notes right here with me, but I've been jotting them down, and as soon as I finish looking through them all, I'll get that to you, okay? Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second for 1902. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That passes 5-0. 1903 is the renewal for the group Medicare Advantage and supplemental insurance for retirees.
Move approval.
Second.
There's a motion by Marcia Powers for approval and a second by Victoria Deffenthaler. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. 1904, Builders Risk Insurance Policies for Jensen Beach Elementary and Palm City Elementary Replacement Schools.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Mike Dieterlisi, a second by Marcia Powers. Any discussion? I just would like to thank Julie and Mark for all the work that you guys are doing, and I think the job sites look great. I mean, I think it's really coming along very well, and it's very, I know the community's pleased, and I think you guys are doing a great job. So thank you. Any more discussion on that item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That passes 5-0. 1905, memorandums of understanding with ASCME for COVID sick leave and disaster relief payment.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Tony Anderson and a second by Marcia Powers. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That passes 5-0. 1906, memorandums of understanding with MCEA for interim continuity of learning plan for COVID-related absences, COVID sick leave, and disaster relief
Chair
payment.
Roberts, could I just mention something on that? My recommendation is on MCEA's, it's pending their ratification, and I've confirmed with their president, Karen Rezanidi, that they're going to vote December 1st. So that was the ratification of those three. Just
Okay.
So I move approval of 19.06 pending ratification by, assuming approval by MCEA membership.
Second.
Did you make the motion already?
No.
No, I did, okay.
I have a motion by Marcia Powers, a second by Mike Dieterlisi to approve 19.06 pending the ratification by MCEA. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. 1907, COVID sick leave and disaster relief payment for the non-bargaining staff.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Marcia Powers, a second by Victoria Deffenthaler. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 5-0.
So can I just ask, will everyone get their payments at the same time? So is that going to be like, once we know that everything's been ratified by everyone, that all the employees will get that at the same time, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's our goal. The December payrolls do this, for that is in the second week of December. Carter needs, that we told the union we have to have their information by December 3rd to make that work. But he slated that. Now, if they didn't, it would just end up being AFSCME and the non-bargaining. But our plan is, it sounds like they're going to hit their date.
So then the message to the public is, as long as that is ratified by MCEA by December 3rd, the expectation is that those checks will go out before the end of the year. And if it isn't, if that ratification for some reason doesn't, the vote doesn't happen or something happens, then that group will not be getting the check at that time, but the other two groups.
Until the next payroll or
Until the
whenever
next
it's approved.
On the 9th of December, what we need to know by the 3rd, I'm sorry. Thank you for recognizing me, Madam Chair, board members. The scheduled date of the payroll is December the 9th. We need to know by the 3rd, which helps us that they are voting on the 1st. So if the ratification vote by MCEA fails for any reason, we will pull them out of the payroll run for that date.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
1908, that's a resolution regarding the Martin County 2018 millage referendum.
I move approval of 19.08.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? So I had one thing that I wanted to discuss on that. So on the one that talks, the 1, 2, 3rd, 4th bullet, that talks about referendum funds to retroactive to July 1, 2018, and also going forward, I would like to add language that says for uses authorized by the voters of Martin County on, and the date of the referendum, and then parentheses specifically, and list those 5 things that they're allowed to use the money for.
So I will amend my motion to include that change.
I agree with that.
Okay, thank you. So we have an amended motion. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. Open to the board. Mrs. Steffenthaler?
So I have a few things. One, I want to thank, this is the month of November, and I know Veterans Day just passed, but I want to thank all of our veterans who served and members of our armed forces who continue to serve our country. Our country is indebted to your service and also your sacrifice, and also the sacrifice of your family. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank Port Salerno Elementary for the invitation to attend their Hispanic Heritage and Literacy Night event. A special thank you to Alcira Gonzalez, Martin County School District Family Engagement Coach, for sharing her story, and also to all the staff and volunteers and families who made the evening a success. It was really, there was a great turnout, and you all did a great job, so thank you. Many thanks to South Fork High School SGA Homecoming Committee for the invitation to judge the homecoming floats. The floats were very creatively decorated, and the participation of students, staff, families, and community really did contribute to that evening. It was a beautiful evening for a parade. Also want to thank Dr. Featherstone, Martin County High School, and Chef Southwick and his students. I know we've said this tonight, but I want to give them a special thanks for hosting the Stewart Chambers Stewart Chambers Leadership Martin County Education Day. The lunch from appetizers to dessert was just, it was delicious. And I remember one of the students came by my table, and I'm like, this dessert is so delicious. He said, that was the hardest dessert to make. But they did an excellent job. Thank you to the Environmental Study Center, staff, board, and volunteers for hosting an open house last month. That also was well attended, and I appreciate everyone's efforts. It's always nice to go to the Environmental Study Center. Thank you to Lauren Graff, Martin County High School Athletic Director, and Martin County High School staff for the invitation to attend the Martin County High School Tigers and the Jensen Beach Falcons playoff game that night. It was a beautiful evening and also an exciting game. I want to congratulate the district championship Martin County High School Tigers for their amazing season. And I believe they also won their first playoff game, if I'm not mistaken, and I think they're playing, if I read it right, this Friday against Melbourne Bulldogs, the second playoff game, and I wish them the best of luck. I also enjoyed the performance at South Fork High School called All Together Now last weekend, and there were participants from all three high schools, South Fork, Jensen Beach, Martin County High, and I understand that student Sophia Liano directed and helped choreograph every one of those numbers, along with some help from other students in terms of the choreographing. This was actually a global event celebrating local theater, and it showcased the talent of our students. And also, I wish he was here now, but I want to say Kyle Ramos was a member of the cast, and he did an extraordinary job. He's got many talents, that young man. I met with Courtney Beard, our ELA program specialist, to learn more about and discuss the new benchmark reading program being used at the elementary level. I want to thank Principal Robin Monty and Assistant Principal Lauren Rabner and Mrs. Beard for providing me the opportunity to visit classrooms yesterday. Was there from 8 to 12, 8 to 11:30, 12, and was able to get into quite a few classrooms. And our teachers are doing an amazing job. They're very dedicated, and they're really trying to do their best to follow the curriculum. I will say that, I've been hearing a lot of challenges, and I think you and I have talked about that, and I can see some of the challenges, and I still have questions about it. And I do hope, and I've said this before, that, our teachers went from a very different program at the elementary level. They really were using balanced literacy for the most part, and now they're into a very prescriptive, paced program. And I think they all want to do a great job, and I do see, I see the benefit in it all, so there's nothing against the program at this point, except I do know that it is very prescriptive, and I've shared with you some of my concerns. And what I'm hoping is that there's going to be some flexibility given, because I think that you're hearing things from teachers and schools. I'm hoping, that everyone's listening at the district level. And I'm not saying to change anything, except that there needs to be some flexibility, so some changes somewhere need to be made this first year, because I do think teachers are very overwhelmed with what they're trying to do, and I think they want to do a good job. So I think there's a lot of benefit to the program, it's nothing about that, but I think this first year is very difficult. So I'm just saying, as a board member and former principal and teacher, that I hope that you're all listening to what's being said, and that you'll take that into account and figure out a way to maybe give some flexibility this first year. And I'd be more than willing or happy to talk to you more about that, but that's what I'm hoping. I want to thank the teachers at Palm City for giving me a warm welcome, and I want to encourage other board members to take an opportunity to talk to Courtney Beard and also Shannon Blount. I haven't talked to Shannon yet, I plan to. And to visit classrooms so that you can develop an understanding of what this new reading program is requiring, and, you know, understanding the difference between last year and this year. I think that the program has a lot of benefit, especially for new teachers coming in who really haven't taught reading before. But I also think that, you know, there are some challenges, and it's always great to get in the classrooms. And I will tell you, it's the vocabulary of the children and the way they're answering questions it's very exciting to hear. Because you walk by them or you talk to them and they're like, well, we're talking about perspective right now, you know, I mean, and it's great to hear what they have to say and they have opinions. So I really encourage my fellow board members to take the time to do that. I hope you will. I know Courtney Beard would be happy to talk to you, and so would Mrs. Blount. Congratulations to the students who are participating in this evening's IB pinning program. I was hoping to get to that ceremony tonight. I have kind of missed it, actually. I haven't been there for a couple of years, I think. Because of probably because of COVID last year, and the fact that it does fall on our Tuesday board meetings in November. But I do want to wish everyone well and congratulations. Let's see. I want to, I think I said everything I want to say, except for I would like to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy the time spent with family. Please take the time, I'm talking to district staff and all of our teachers and support staff and administrators, take some time for yourselves, take some time to relax, because last year was hard for you all, but this year is so much more challenging in so many other ways, and you all work so hard and you're so dedicated, but please do take time to spend with your families, because I will tell you, especially those with children, time goes by fast. So, you know, you need to enjoy it when you can. But even those without children need a break. So, anyway, have a very happy Thanksgiving and a restful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DiTerlisi, do you have anything?
Oh, Madam Chair, just happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you all enjoy the holiday. Thank you.
Mrs. Powers, past Chair Powers?
Thank you. Yeah, I just, I did want to kind of comment a little bit on the ELA. I've been hearing a lot of things, and, you know, I kind of, at the beginning of the year, I have a couple of brand-new teachers that I talked to. I have some kind of in that 10-year range, and then some veteran teachers. And what I will say is the comments I received at the beginning of the year and the comments I'm getting now are vastly different. And I think a lot of it is, you know, learning something new. It's really hard. There is still some frustration. And I think in the beginning, a lot of the teachers thought, I have to do this. It's a script. And now that they're finally, everybody's learning to relax a little bit, and they're you know, starting to get in a more of a groove and using their creativity. This, you know, and I think a lot of what happened too was they thought that they couldn't do that. They had to follow this strict script, and they do. They have to pace, but they are allowed to be creative and use their unique talents in their classroom. So I am seeing improvements. Parents, I think, are seeing that too. And I'll talk separately about some of the very specific comments that could be just one or two, but I think that it's getting better and easier as we move along. So thank you all for supporting all the teachers in the classroom, because I know that's been really helpful. And congratulations, Ms. Roberts and Mr. Anderson. I look forward to working with you both over the next year. And I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I hope that everyone enjoys time with your families and relax and take a deep breath while we have a few extra days off. So happy Thanksgiving.
Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, real quick. So, Mrs. Powell, I would like to, if I didn't say it earlier, really thank you for your services. I mean, you had 2 years of this, and it's been rough. And it's easy when you're, you know, sitting in that chair and things are going on, and even myself to say, well, maybe we should do this way. Nobody knows what you're going through but you. And I love your work ethic. You're all about business. You're on time. You don't have much tolerance for nonsense. And that's me all the way, and I really appreciate that. So thank you, and congratulations, Mrs. Roberts. You've been there, done that, and you're a workaholic, so we're gonna be just fine, okay? And I thank you all for considering me, too. I appreciate that. And then, Dr. Millay, I'd just like to say to you, it's so funny to hear you sitting there talking about the different schools. Man, you've come here and really gotten acclimated. I mean, to hear you rattle off Murray Middle School, Anderson Middle School, and stood as if you've been here for years. I expect that out of Dr. Miller and Dr. Featherstone and Dr. White, but man, you have really integrated in this community. You're everywhere. You were at that concert the other night. I don't know where you get your energy from, man, but I appreciate you. All right, I'm done.
Tomorrow is 1 full year, so it's been a real pleasure. I love Martin County.
Congratulations.
I think it's that Billy Joel song, I'm Still Standing, that one, yeah, right. And let's see, I was at a lot of the same things that Mike's already spoken.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
A lot of the same things that Mrs. Steffenthaler was at, so I won't go back over those. I do want to thank the Children's Services Council for bringing the reading event both to Port Salerno and to Warfield Elementary. Thank South Fork High School for their presentation of Clue, and wish the best of luck to Jensen Beach for this weekend's presentation of Pride and Prejudice. And then, as Mr. Anderson was there, as well as Superintendent Millay, for Anita Caswell, the choral teachers, and Dr. Vogel for it was the 6th annual men's choral presentation, and there were 200 young students that were there performing, and it was really good. I'm very excited about the implementation of Let's Talk that has been reported to the board. I think it's really, it's something that we've all been looking for, is to ramp up our customer service experience and have some measurement on how exactly that happens and what exactly that looks like. So I think that's really exciting. I really also like to welcome the new HR folks, David and Shannon, and I'm very excited to see how Lean Six Sigma can actually do some, make some transformational difference. Today I was at Port Salerno Elementary, you might not have known that, but in a pre-K classroom, an ESE pre-K classroom, observing with Children's Services Council that has support from behavioral support from Helping People Succeed, funded by Children's Services Council. And it really shows that it takes a whole village and takes all of these partnerships with all these different agencies in order to really make a difference in these kids' lives. And these kids, you know, just the mannerisms and just the way that they're going, I mean, a quality pre-K experience is huge. I mean, it really makes a huge difference. And I'm thankful for our ESSER ARP funding that we're going to be expanding that. And I thank everybody in the elementary level for putting in the hard work, and the people downtown, for the staff for recognizing that and really pushing that out there for the ESE people, you know, et cetera. I mean, it really does make a difference, and it really is doing some transformational work. And then the last thing I have is I need to find out how I get a hold of the math books, because I need the physical books, not the online thing, because I can't compare them for that. So I'm ready to, my trunk's empty. So, is there anything else? Okay, and it's 7:20 and we'll adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.